A lady with blonde hair cries out that she is His Majesty's bride, and also claims that the only one who can be her is Scarlet Armand. The young lady then looks at the man standing in front of her and then addresses him as His Majesty Calor. However, the guy only puts the sword against her throat. After this, the girl with tears in her eyes asks His Highness to love her. However, at the same moment, the guy takes her life. This place is the world from the novel called The Personal Life of a Tyrant, and Emperor Calor, who is the main character of the novel, is actually a cruel tyrant who plunged his own brothers into eternal sleep. He meets the main character and falls in love with her, after which he becomes very caring and very obedient with her. The advisors kept the tyrant's personal life a secret, and now the main character claims that if in the end the tyrant becomes caring, so what's the point in everything? The girl realizes that she is now 20 years old and seems to have fallen into eternal sleep, just like the real heroine of the novel, because now she is in the body of Scarlet Armand, who is the tyrant's bride. The girl loves him very much and humiliates the main character, and then plunges into eternal sleep at the hands of the tyrant, and that's the whole story. But the blonde then wonders what happened in the middle before Scarlet fell into eternal sleep. However, the girl also realizes with a smile on her face that fortunately she was there before the start of the main storyline, and it seems that she will plunge into eternal sleep as soon as the story begins. Scarlet began to humiliate Shirla when the storyline began, and in order to survive she cannot be offended, but the girl also thinks how she can deal with the tyrant, after which she opens the chest of drawers with a notepad and realizes that the tyrant has fallen in love for the first time, and for him this is a real disaster. The guy is also the youngest ball master and the wisest man of our time, but the girl doesn't understand what's the point if he can't treat others like humans. At this time, the maid comes into the room and wonders if the girl asks why His Majesty is considered the wisest. However, after this, the woman also sighs and says that she is busy, and the main character realizes that she hears everything. The maid then claims that only a few know more than him. And the main character understands that, in other words, it's because he is wise. The girl also understands that she has a very strict family, and he doesn't understand how they could send their daughter to someone like him, because no matter how cruel they were, how could it be possible to enter into an engagement with a tyrant? So now the blonde is wondering if they are her real family. The girl understands that as soon as she was reborn in Scarlet's body, fortunately she retained the girl's memories, and Scarlet remembered that the Duke was very cold towards her. One day the man slapped her in the face, and he claimed that she would sit there until the morning. The young lady then understands that no matter how much he beat her, she was sad, and the man always watched her during important events, but on ordinary days he did not pay any attention, and she only has memories of her family not as supportive and happy. The girl also thinks that she needs to leave the Duke's family as soon as possible, but she has more urgent matters, after which the young lady looks at the letter on the table, and he understands that there is still an engagement to the tyrant. The young lady also knows that the Emperor's birthday is in 10 days, and this will be their first meeting as bride and groom. And also a sign that history has begun, the beginning of how Scarlet fell in love with life, but this can most likely be called the moment of her fall. Now the girl looks at another sheet and understands that she needs to remember everything about the tyrant because she doesn't know what she saw in him, and why she fell in love because she personally would never have liked him. The blonde also understands that the problem is that when the main character appears, she plunges into eternal sleep. Therefore, she needs to run, but if the engagement took place, then it is pointless and she has no money. Therefore, the girl thinks whether she should directly ask about breaking off the engagement. However, then the outcome will not be the best, and His Highness will only ask if she really wants to insult him, and that's why she's working. But at this rate, Scarlet's remaining memories will become her future. Therefore, the girl thinks that it is better to be sent away than to be plunged into eternal sleep. Well then, the young lady thinks maybe she should get the guy to blow her off. After all, the Emperor's engagement is secured by a magical contract, and in order to break it, one of the parties must be immersed in eternal sleep, otherwise the consent of both parties is required. Therefore, the girl thinks that it is necessary for the Emperor to agree because it is written in the contract. They need to meet a certain number of times, and no matter how selfish the guy is, he should be submissive. Therefore, now the girl understands that it is possible to make the guy sick of her. and she will pretend to be crazy and also just wait for a breakup. But while the girl is laughing like crazy, someone knocks on the room. It turns out it was the maid, and she heard this laughter. He understands that Miss has been crying and laughing for a long time, so he wonders if everything is okay with her. At this time, the subconscious of the former Scarlet claims that this does not change the fact that His Majesty will be approved by a person. However, the main character just laughs and doesn't understand why she thinks so, because it even makes her want to laugh. The girl also thinks why Scarlet's memories of His Majesty are so good. At this time, the maid turns to Miss and asks if she is okay. Scarlet then replies that yes, and she thinks why she was scared because it's just Lucy. And recently this girl is the only one who works for her. The maid at this time claims that the lady will now bring payment, and the main character notes that it's good, and understands that if she breaks off the engagement, she will have to leave somewhere. When the young lady goes to the village, the maid will say 100% that if she continues like this, the status of the family will suffer, after which the young lady claims that there will be a banquet in the evening, so why bother getting ready in the middle of the day? The girl also looks at herself in the mirror and says that she thinks this body is very beautiful. The maid comes up behind the mistress and, seeing what she is doing, looks at the dress. The main character then gets scared and even a little ashamed, after which the girl looks at the dress. And also on the fabric from which it is made, the maid asks if the lady wants something more fancy. And the young lady replies that no, and she will wear it. Lucy asks what the mistress is talking about, and the young lady with a smile on her face states that she chooses it. The maid asks Miss if she really likes this dress and if it is not too simple, but the young lady replies that it's fine because you can add decorations to it. After which the maid asks if the lady wants to go to a banquet at the imperial palace in such a simple dress. But a little later, the girl does just that, and someone asks if she has gone crazy. Scarlet also thinks it's a pretty predictable reaction. Well, she is beautiful, even when she is modestly dressed, and it seems that peach suits her, so the girl thinks that they will still see how His Highness copes with this. The young lady also turns to Lucy and asks if she is proud of herself because the girl did a good job. The main character also notices another maid. Then he asks what she's doing because she didn't even say hello. The woman then cries out that she has sinned and asks for forgiveness. Then someone announces that Lady Scarlet has arrived. And one of the maids then asks to be allowed to serve, but when he sees the girl's costume, he is a little surprised. And the main character understands that this is quite simple for a banquet in honor of the Emperor's birthday. However, this outfit will start her madness, and the young lady also thinks that maybe the pajamas look so beautiful because she is from a rich family. But when she sits with other aristocrats, she realizes that there is a rather frightening atmosphere there. The young lady's father looks at her furiously, and the girl realizes that this look is just something, and also wonders why he is staring at her. But this is the same Duke who treats his daughter like nothing, and also constantly beats her, and the girl wonders whether she will be afraid of this piece of shit. This girl thinks she should just ignore him. Well, at this time, someone turns to the young lady and asks if she really ate something wrong. This guy is Scarlet's half-brother named Ezar. He is the only person who helped Scarlet when she was sentenced to eternal sleep. And when the girl almost took her life, the guy found her and saved the girl. Then the main character ended up in her body. When the girl opened her eyes, she looked at her hand and wondered what was wrong with it, after which the young lady also looked in the other direction. Although the doctor informed her brother that the worst was over and the young lady needed to be closely monitored, the girl then asked who it was. However, the guy then only furiously turned to her. Well, after all, I moderated my ardor after that. Told her to rest for now. After thinking it over, the girl simply took a deep breath and understood that he was probably worried about his sister, because just think that in her memories, Ezar was kind to Scarlet. The main character understands that this is unusual, but maybe she should treat him special, but the girl also thinks why he has such an expression on his face again, because it's scary. After which the young lady asks what it is. And the guy asks a question in response and wonders if she understands her dress. However, the girl interrupts him and asks if it doesn't suit her because she is beautiful in everything. After this, the guy is only surprised and claims that there are rumors that she has gone crazy. And apparently this is true. However, then he immediately closes his mouth. And he says that it's still worth keeping quiet. Scarlet, looking at him, thinks what happened and why he behaves this way. And is he really trying to be careful with his words? The girl also thinks that she seems to have never had such conversations before. Well then, the father knocks his hand on the carriage and cries out his daughter's name. Then he furiously asks if she is embarrassed by the fact that she is disgracing her family. He also tells his daughter to get out of the carriage if he doesn't stop, and the girl realizes that she was wondering when he would explode. Scarlet claims that this is not a shame and asks if it's all because of the dress, because the day before yesterday she bought a lot of elegant dresses and today she put on a simpler dress. And if they are talking about the prestige of the family, then they should not be talking about her, because it seems her brother returned drunk yesterday, and rumors were already spreading around the capital that he was singing on the street. Therefore, the girl now asks if he really doesn't care about the family's reputation. The main character then thinks how upset he will be and understands that Scarlet has never answered before, but if a man can only talk, then there is no point in contacting her. The young lady then looks at her brother, but he just looks at her in surprise, and the young lady realizes that she thought that he would be angry with her for such a betrayal. However, he seems completely calm. The man turns to Scarlet at this time. However, the young lady's stepmother then tells them both to stop. It's really so stupid. This woman is the Duchess of Armand named Melia. As soon as the Duke's ex-wife fell into eternal sleep, he brought her, and this is a romantic nature abandoned by another duke before the wedding. The fact is that during their engagement they had a child, and it was Ezar Armand. That's why the guy is older than Scarlet, and it also seems that Melia did not really like the girl because she was evidence of betrayal. And the main character thinks that she understands a woman in many ways, but the girl also remembers how she asked her stepmother to forgive her. After all, she won't do this again. However, the woman only said that the girl should be locked up until she comes to her senses, and so the young lady remained alone in the dark room. The girl understands that even if this was the case, it was unfair to take out all her anger on Scarlet. The brunette at this time turns to the young lady and tells her to let His Excellency speak. Scarlet agrees. Well, he asks whether the rumors that he drunkenly sang songs in the square are true. After this, the woman only looks menacingly at the young lady, and she thinks that let the woman keep an eye on her son, and then says that rumors say that they come and go, but doesn't this happen every day? After which, the young lady also addresses the woman as Madam and is surprised at something, and Scarlet insists that she should not worry about her if she does not want her to call her mother. Melia then looks away. People understand that it would be nice if the woman called off her marriage, calling her crazy, but this will take time. After which, the young lady also realizes that she needs to sleep before arguing again. And at the same moment she begins to sniffle, to which the rest of the family members are surprised because she fell asleep in literally half a second. Ezar also looks at his sister in surprise, but then he tries to hold back his laughter, looking at her peaceful face. The girl is in a dream at this time and hears someone crying. Well then, the young lady realizes that it's her. And looking at the girl reflecting her in front of her and how she is beheaded, the young lady is surprised. At the same moment, she wakes up and once on the ground realizes that this is just a dream. The young lady also thinks that she really seems to have fallen asleep, but fortunately, it seems that it is not too late, and of course, no one woke her up. Scarlet also touches her neck and realizes that this dream could mean something, but the girl immediately drives away such thoughts from herself and understands that this is just a dream, so she shouldn't worry because she has something to think about. After which, the young lady looks at the luxurious palace in front of her, and he understands that now it's time to meet the tyrant groom. Then the young lady approaches the door near which there is a guard, and when the guy looks at her all wrapped up, he's a little surprised. However, Scarlet, without losing her dignity, asks if she is late and then tells him to open the door. However, the guard then replies that he cannot. After all, His Majesty is already there, so he cannot announce the lady's name. The main character then understands that apparently this means that she will have to quietly go through the emergency exit. The girl then replies that she knows it doesn't matter to her, so she's against opening it and understands that she needs to anger His Highness. After which, the young lady passes, and he sees all the luxurious furnishings in the palace. And he also thinks how majestic it all is. The girl also understands that the tyrant said that his birthday is more modest than that of the previous emperor, and if it is more modest, then what happened before? After which, the young lady moves on and wonders where her tyrant fiancé is. But when she heads forward, everyone else looks at her. One of the women asks the other what she found on the girl and why she is dressed like that. And the blonde understands that this was enough to attract attention. Then the young lady notices another guy and realizes that he is quite attractive, after which they wonder if this is the Emperor. The young man then looks at the girl, and the main character wonders if she is blonde. But in the book, the Emperor is described as silver-haired, with violet eyes, and this is definitely not him. After which the young lady turns around and thinks, where the hell is the Emperor? But she can't find him because there are so many people there. At this time, the young lady also hears someone telling Lady Fleda to watch. After all, they say that the Armand's daughter has gone crazy, and it seems these are not rumors at all. The main character then thinks that they are quite similar to something, after which he begins to stare at them with might and main. And then he claims that they are like a traffic light. The women then ask one another what a traffic light is. Well, then the lady with green hair claims that the rumors do not lie because the girl is saying some nonsense. However, the main character then approaches this woman and asks if she wants to plunge into eternal sleep, and also that she should not contact her because she is busy. The blonde also addresses the lady and says that she is talking to herself. Then she runs away and realizes that this girl is morally weak. But now she is so sensitive. But she gets into an argument because Scarlet thinks why they get in her way. The girl also heads further and realizes that there are a lot of people there, and also no one approaches anyone and everyone avoids each other. But the young lady also thinks that maybe it is because of Scarlet's notoriety that she acquired more than a month ago. But the girl came to see only one person, and in the novel it happened that she fell in love with her politeness as a tyrant. But in fact, the main reason was that he was perfect for her, because the tyrant was the only one in her life. But now Scarlet is wondering if the girl was weak-minded, because falling in love like that is very dangerous. Well, then the girl hears someone else saying that this is Lady Armand, about whom they say that she has gone crazy. The young lady also thinks who else can argue so loudly and she should look at the face. However, when the girl turns around, she sees that same tyrant emperor there. After which he is a little surprised and thinks that Scarlet should be honest. The young lady also bows and claims that she is Scarlet Armand of the Armand family, and she also greets His Majesty the Emperor. However, the girl also thinks that the past Scarlet most likely fell in love not only with his politeness, but also with his face. But this is a handsome and young man and seems smart and also capable of turning those around him into squids, and the guy is incredibly handsome, but the girl understands that she cannot succumb to his charms. The Emperor at this time asks what's the matter, and the young lady understands that she needs to collect her thoughts. Well, looking at the guy's face, she thinks, how can a person who has become a tyrant provoke people like that? And it's not for nothing that he became a puppy for his owner. The young lady then hits herself on the cheeks and realizes that she should stop thinking about it because she didn't come there to have fun. Scarlet tells His Majesty that no, and she sees him for the first time and also cannot help herself because he is beautiful. The girl also asks to be allowed to ask a question and claims that she heard that His Majesty likes unusual things and then asks if it is true. The guy claims that if my lady wants to show him something strange, then it's better not to, and the girl understands that he has an expression of indifference. Well, then he claims that she is meeting him for the first time as his fiancé, so she has prepared something for him. He also asks if His Majesty will take a look at this, after which the guy replies that it's good. But he claims that he will not be surprised if she has prepared poetry. However, the girl tells him not to worry and thinks that it is worth seeing how long he will remain indifferent. The young lady then takes a glass of wine, and she says that His Majesty should look, because now she will use magic to turn the color of this dress into a dazzling red. And while pouring wine, the young lady congratulates His Majesty on his birthday. The Emperor then still looks at the young lady, and she only claims that it is a very good aroma, after which he says that His Majesty should look because the dress is painted a charming red color. The girl also thinks how he will react now because this is complete madness. Everyone in the hall at this time begins to whisper and asks why the girl just spent wine on herself right in front of His Majesty, and the main character thinks how you can marry such a crazy woman. The girl at this time asks His Majesty if this is really wonderful. But the man is only surprised and does not know what to say. Scarlet understands that just by looking at his expression, she understands that if she succeeds, she will break off their engagement in one fell swoop. The young lady also remembers that before his birthday, Emperor Calor told Shirla that no one would congratulate him, and in these words which sounded more like a lie hidden inner experiences. But the guy also asked that she not congratulate him either. The young lady understands that normally he would like to hear this from the main character, but the girl understands that he most likely would not like it from her. That's why Scarlet has a smile on her face now. Congratulates His Majesty on his birthday. Everyone in the hall is then a little surprised and claims that the Emperor has such a gloomy expression on his face, and the main character understands that in this way the first impression is completely ruined. The Emperor at this time turns to Duke Armand and he immediately goes to His Majesty. The guy at this time claims that the lady doesn't seem well and asks why she didn't stay at home in that condition. The people behind immediately start whispering and giggling, and the man then claims that he will immediately take the girl back. The young lady is a little surprised after this, but understands that at least the guy will continue to look at her as if he is ready to plunge her into eternal sleep. Well, she thinks that he is still quite handsome, and after all, their flower idol saw a crazy woman for the first time, after which the young lady understands that if she succeeded, then good. But she doesn't know if she can immediately break off the engagement, after which she just blows the guy a kiss. Well, he seems to bounce off him, after which the young lady thinks that this is not the end. After all, let His Highness just wait. A short time later, the young lady sets off home in a carriage, and her father then knocks with his hand and then screams that she is just crazy. And this is not just disrespect, and when they return, she will not be well. The main character thinks how noisy it is. But then one can only consider such an answer a success. At this time, her brother turns to the young lady and asks if she is drunk. And she stinks. The young lady then thinks that this angry child should have said that. But then the young lady just asks, is it ugly and red suits her? After which, the young lady begins to approach her brother, and he increasingly rests against the wall of the carriage. But then someone turns to Scarlet Armand, and it turns out to be her stepmother. The woman tells the girl to know that when they return, she will invite an advisor. The main character then asks why, and the stepmother replies that judging by the way the girl behaves, she needs to find a doctor who will put her brains back in place. And the young lady then asks in shock how this can happen, but my soul itself rejoices because then the engagement will be broken off and you might even lose your title. The young lady also claims that she just heard that His Majesty likes the red liquid, and since she is his fiancée, she just wanted to give him a special gift. And the young lady understands that she is now approaching the finale, and she will make an innocent look. The young lady's brother is a little surprised at this, after which he replies that the young lady has been wondering for a long time what he is afraid of, after which the young lady says that she wants to be dressed in red from head to head, to be in the arms of His Majesty. The brunette then turns to his sister and asks if she won't then fall into eternal sleep, and the girl replies that no way, and he and His Majesty are like-minded people. The guy then asks what she's talking about, and the young lady replies that later she will sift his hair. And every time they meet, she will ask for a strand. The brunette then asks in shock why. And the young lady claims that in order to be happy, she will put them on her pillow and will do so until the wedding. The guy then wants to say that she really has gone crazy. But still she falls silent, and the young lady wonders if she's overplayed her hand, and she thinks it's better this way. Ezar at this time turns to his sister and claims that it doesn't matter what she thinks. A short time later, they are already approaching the duchy. One of the servants does not understand why they returned so early. Or maybe Lady Scarlet got herself into some kind of trouble again. The guy also approaches the carriage and is about to open the door, and also realizes that everything has been calm for the last month. But at the same moment, the lady kicks the door down, and the guy is shocked, wondering if it's a leg. But then the stepmother screams for the girl to be caught, and when she sees that the girl has already run far away from her, she sighs and tells the guy to urgently call an advisor because Scarlet seems to be feeling bad. The young man then thinks that the lady just ran out. Then he asks if the gentleman should not have come with them. And then the woman only remembers what happened. The brunette then claimed that no matter how much he thought the girl was acting like crazy, and what would happen if she really fell into eternal sleep. After all, he hates funerals. The stepmother then asks the guy what it is. Well, then the main character tells him to come out now. And when the guy is on the street, the girl also tells him to let this brat get there himself. The young man then wondered in shock whether they had seriously left him. And after that, the man only turned to Scarlet Armand and asked what it was. However, the main character approaches him and asks if he knows that she is now His Majesty's bride, so it's better for him to keep his distance. After which, the young lady asks if he understands what she means. The sun of Calor is at zenith, the moon, water, flowers, trees, and birds are also outside. And the young lady writes a sheet and thinks that in order to fix everything they definitely need to meet. Scarlet hopes that this will continue until the engagement ends. And they need to decide on the date and time of the meeting. The girl also understands that the emperor and his bride must meet a certain number of times a month, and all meetings are recorded and registered, and this is no different from relationships in public. The young lady also thinks that she does not want to be annoying, and wrote that she gives the opportunity to choose the place and time to meet His Majesty. The young lady also understands that it is important to show madness in her constant modesty because this will be ideal to deceive the incredulous tyrant. Therefore now the girl is thinking about what answer will come, and if your answer comes on schedule, it means she didn't make it yesterday. The girl also turns to Lucy and asks if she is there, and the maid tells the lady that yes. The main character then turns to the maid and asks if she can bring her accounting book. The young lady understands that the accounting book of Scarlet Armand's mother was left to the girl by the late Duchess, and the main character understands that according to the plot of the book, Scarlet secretly humiliated Shirla. The girl also understands that she spent all her money, so she had to borrow from her parents, and besides, this is a considerable amount of money. Well, then the maid puts tea on the girl's table and asks the main character if she has prepared something tasty. Then he thanks Lucy. The maid is a little surprised in response to this, but then she replies that she doesn't and doesn't even know what to say, and the young lady thinks that all she has to do is look at her face. But it's so funny that the young lady decides that she will continue to thank her. Scarlet thanks the girl again, and yes, he only answers that it's good, and let the lady call her if she needs anything. And the main character then agrees and says goodbye to Lucy, after which he leans on his hand and thinks that he still needs to sort out the accounting book. The girl looking at the gold coins understands that, as expected, there are quite a few of them, and so she will not be able to escape from the duchy and also become independent. The girl understands that there is something left from Scarlet's savings, but she needs to earn money, and luckily she has ways to make a fortune with just a little money in hand. After which the young lady thinks about the safe zone and realizes that frankly this wasteland is called a cradle. They left these lands because magic doesn't work there, but who could know? What on earth who rejected everything were tenants who contacted the main character in the safe zone and became a good income there. Therefore, the young lady with a smile on her face understands that there is an extravaganza there, and if you get their recognition, then you can provide yourself with good resources and the most precious treasure in the world. That is the fairy stone. Young ladies also think that if they sell it, they can make a considerable fortune. Therefore, the girl immediately opens the door and the maid in shock asks where she is going. The main character replies that she is going to the bank because she needs money. His Highness is in his room at this time. The guy takes off his jacket, after which he lies down on the bed and remembers how the girl congratulated His Majesty on his birthday. The young man thinks that this is not surprising, and the young lady stood in front of him without a shadow of fear. The guy also remembers how someone claimed that this was the ominous child Calor, and people also said that it would be better if he had not been born. When the guy grew up, someone argued that in front of His Majesty you need to be careful in your expressions if you don't want to lose your head. And the guy believed that he knew himself well, but today he was shown that this was not so. Now, I get out of bed, he claims that he feels bad. Then he remembers how the young lady blew him a kiss. But then he realizes that this is most likely a feeling of dirt. The young man then thinks about Scarlet Armand and understands that the only thing worth considering is the illustrious surname, and even though the girl is a fool, but she is from a noble family whose influence cannot be ignored, so he will maintain the engagement. At this time, one of the servants informs His Highness that they found out everything and came to the conclusion that the Armand's daughter is evil and merciless, and also asks if she is really suitable to become an empress. The guy then looks at the sheet and asks if she is merciless, after which he thinks about this girl and wonders if all this is really true. The guy understands that it is difficult to find out the truth about her because they only studied her behavior in public. And maybe she is crazy enough to be executed, but it seems to him that the girl is not completely crazy. After which the young man thinks whether he should wait and see. A little later, the maid is already addressing Miss, and he claims that the answer came from the imperial palace. The main character then, with a smile on her face, claims that it would be great for her to receive a letter about breaking the engagement. But then, the young lady in front of her sees the monthly schedule and realizes that the guy sent her his schedule. This means she needs to show him something similar, and he will still feel the pepper of real madness. A short time later, the emperor is already sitting in his office and reading something. Well then, someone knocks on the room and then addresses His Majesty, and he claims that he arrived on his orders, and besides he needs to report something to him. After which, the guy puts a stack of papers on the table and claims that a lot has happened since that morning. His Majesty then asks, in what sense? And the servant replies that it won't last long. This guy is Carlitor's advisor and also Count Clover. The young man with green hair claims that the emperor had breakfast, so it's time to work. The guy also understands that some people work without food and with only 2 hours of sleep. At this time, Carlitor thinks that he knows what the guy is driving at. And looking at the crystal ball, he asks if this guy is Count Lumen. The blonde is the intelligence commander of Carlitor's close advisors. And a conversation with Count Lumen means that something bad could happen, but the guy still thinks that this cannot happen. After which, His Majesty only tells the guy to check this information again. The young man with green hair then looks at all this and understands what. This guy looks like he's about to cry. The blonde at this time only claims that his report was interfered with. And the advisor thinks that if this is an investigation about the Armand family, then everything is clear, because their ancestors were the founders of the Carlior and Rizabel families, and also with heroes standing shoulder to shoulder, their heroic ancestor left the Armands something that even the tyrant's advisors could not cope with. Scarlet likes to walk a lot, and this may be in the report. The emperor at this time claims that it is not necessary and asks if they have studied everything thoroughly, and the advisor thinks that they have problems because Count Lumen is all in tears, and what if something happens to him again? However, at the same moment the connection is interrupted, and the guy with blonde hair tries to appeal to His Majesty. The guy with green hair understands that overtime is definitely awaiting him. His Majesty at this time turns to their advisor and claims that he is ordering, find out everything about the Armand and Scarlet Armand family. The green-haired young man then realizes that this girl became His Majesty's bride a few weeks ago. But he still thinks that this is better than something impossible, after which he claims that it may be difficult, but asks what can be found out about the young lady, and the guy just says that he should not forget to find out the unpleasant facts that he would like to know. The advisor then agrees and says that he will do everything possible, but understands that it will be quite easy to find out about the Armand family, and the guy then asks if His Majesty will share the official schedule with him, and shouldn't he see each other twice a month. The green-haired young man also claims that if he has a schedule, he thinks it will help in collecting information. And His Majesty at this time claims that he wants to see the girl again, and with a smile on his face he claims that he definitely does. But then he claims that there is no schedule yet, so let the advisor send a letter about it himself. And at least once a month, the young man with green hair then agrees and says that he will go. But heading up the stairs, he thinks how it all happened. And is the emperor really happy? But you can rarely see such joy on his face, so the guy wonders if there is something special about this young lady. And what did she do to His Majesty? The guy also imagines how the girl will hold the emperor in her arms and claim that she will get the son of this country, after which he thinks in horror that he will never allow this. And soon he will find out everything about Scarlet Armand. The main character at this time looks at the letter and understands that the meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, and it also says that the emperor promises to meet with Lady Armand the next day. And the girl looking at the addition to the letter thinks whether he will really come on foot, after which he doesn't understand what kind of walk this is, and is it really a hint of a lack of any interest and a quick end to the meeting. After which the young lady thinks about what she should wear, and she made a strong impression with the red dress, so if you do something weaker, you will be upset. And the girl understands that if the gifts were prepared with all her heart, then what if the tyrant didn't like them all? Well, then the young lady has a great idea and she just grins and then realizes that she can't go to visit empty-handed. A little time later, the young lady is already on a shopping street and thinks that she is so elegant, but probably it's all because this street is located next to the imperial palace. The girl also understands that she can easily find what she needs there, but these are grapefruit and white flowers, two things that a tyrant hates. The girl understands that he especially hates white flowers, but she doesn't know why. After which the young lady smells one of the flowers and thinks that it smells nice, which means she should give a bouquet of flowers. After which the girl turns to the seller and tells him to give her something white and with a strong smell. A short time later, she already receives a bouquet, and the seller claims that her beloved will definitely like these flowers. The main character then realizes with a smile on her face that most likely everything will be the other way around. After which she understands that everything is ready and she needs to go. But the young lady also thinks whether it will be normal if she comes like this, and also understands that she will die yesterday on the nose. A short time later, someone already turns to Lady Armand and claims that she is 2 hours and 30 minutes late. The girl then replies that she had force majeure, and the advisor replies that okay, and it was the last thing on the schedule, so there is time. The guy also claims that he is the one in charge of making the schedule and tells the girl to call him Clover. The main character then says that she is pleased to meet him, and the guy at this time claims that His Majesty is waiting for her, so let the girl hurry. The main character understands that, as in the book, the guy is a workaholic and she did not see him at the last reception. A short time later, a young lady enters the building and asks if this is a prison. The young man with green hair replies that the lady has excellent eyesight, and this is her first time in the palace, but she already knows him so well. The blonde then says that he is right. After which the two of them just laugh gloomily, and the young lady wonders if he really wants to be left alone with her like that. And also, does Clover really think that she doesn't know him? In the original story of the tyrant's personal life, there is not only a protagonist and heroine. Well, the tyrant's advisors, these are observers of his personal life, and they are the only ones who tease him. At this time, the girl approaches the advisor and he asks what the young lady is doing. Well, the girl just spits in his glasses and says that she urgently needs to meet with His Highness. Then with a smile on his face, he asks if he is okay. Scarlet understands that the guy seems to have been in a catastrophe, but he only claims that everything is fine. The main character then hands him a rag and wipes his glasses, but he just asks why he is so wary because everything is fine. The young lady also wonders who would speak with such sarcasm when they first met. And after all, the scrap of fabric that I happen to have with me came in very handy. But at this time, someone asks what they are doing, and it turns out to be His Highness, after which he claims that the guy is doing nonsense right under her nose. And they are pulling the tires right in front of him. The main character then turns to His Majesty and bows and says that she is glad to see him. The guy turns to Lady Armand and says that she has come, and the girl replies that yes, and she wanted to see His Majesty as soon as possible. The young man also looks at the basket that the girl brought with her and then asks what it is. And the young lady replies that this is a gift, and His Majesty invited her, but it seems to her that it is beautiful for them to come empty-handed. After which the girl takes out a bouquet and asks His Majesty if white flowers are not beautiful. The young lady also hands him a fruit, and the guy then asks if it is a grapefruit. The blonde with a smile on her face replies that yes, and he is handsome because she loves grapefruits. Well, then he thinks that all he has to do is look at His Majesty's face. The young lady also claims that these are wild grapefruits from the Garrus lands, and a special item that is also used by light magicians, and also probably it is very tasty. His Majesty then turns to Clover and says that he looks very tired, but the guy only tells His Majesty not to pay attention. The Emperor then tells the guy to go and rest, and he will keep the young lady company. The young man with green hair then agrees, and then leaves. The Emperor announces that he will give the girl a tour, after which the young lady does not even know what to answer. And when they head up the stairs, the girl realizes that they have been silent since then and thinks that maybe she should say something, after which the blonde turns to His Majesty and asks why he ordered the lights to be turned off, and then the girl says that this cannot be, and did he really do it, so that alone with His Majesty, she would be brighter than before. But the guy says that he is at work, and the young lady asks what he is talking about, and the Emperor replies that yes, he is busy with things that cannot be written down on the schedule. Well then, looking at the main character, he asks what kind of expression she has on her face, but the main character, embarrassed, says that it's hot there, after which the guy just gets angry. And he turns around and the young lady replies that she is just joking and asks if he wants her to help him with his work. The guy then, with a smile on his face, asks if the young lady will really help him, and the girl replies that why else would he choose such a time and place. The blonde also asks what is the matter and asks His Majesty to tell him. The guy then replies that it is, and like the girl said, he invited her on business because he needs to meet and talk with someone. The main character then replies that she is best at talking. However, when the guy opens the door, the girl is a little surprised and asks what it is. However, when the Emperor turns to her, the young lady falls silent. The guy just turns around and the main character sticks her tongue out at him and thinks what a bastard he is, but then she thinks what kind of huge dungeon this is and who she can meet there. But looking at all the people in the cage, the young lady thinks that this guy is definitely not in his right mind, and it's better for her not to look anyone in the eye. But then the main character hears someone screaming for the lady to come there, and this man asks for forgiveness but will ask Miss for help. The main character then immediately goes to this man and asks if he can get rid of this. However, at the same moment, they grab the girl's hand and scream so that she doesn't leave and also listens to his story, and isn't she kind? The main character then says to let her go and asks what it is, but thinks that it is quite painful. Well then, the tyrant turns to the lady and tells her to be careful with her hands. After which the guy makes one blow and the girl's hand is released. The main character then realizes that the main character is not like the one in the original. And at this time, the young man wipes the liquid from his face, and the main character thinks that he is undoubtedly crazy. The main character also looks at the hand lying on the floor, and His Highness at this time steps on her and claims that the Chancellor will have more work, but then the guy offers to go because it will take a long time, and Scarlet thinks that he is crazy. The Emperor at this time claims that the young lady needs to meet with a man who is very far away, and the main character then agrees but wonders what kind of meeting this is. And even more so, the girl looks at his satisfied face and wonders whether the tyrant was like that in the book. Scarlet also looks at the spoiled grapefruits and thinks that even before meeting the main character, he didn't seem normal, and the young lady thinks she should give him a slap on the head. After which, the girl is already taking aim, but the Emperor tells her to wait, and the young lady thinks what he is doing, and also whether he is reading minds. When the Emperor turns around, the girl begins to do exercises and claims that it is useful to warm up when walking for a long time. And at this time, someone claims that there are two paths and this is their most likely length, and one of them is approaching. It turns out to be a sweet old lady and claims that Cece told her so, after which the man turns to the flower and says that he loves him too, and Cece's whisper is so sweet. The main character then turns to the woman and asks if she is okay. The Emperor then looks at the girl and realizes that there once lived a seer. He had already spent 19 months silently in captivity, and the old woman's predictions regarding the Armans could not be ignored. And the woman then asked to protect the old man from the robbers, and in return she agreed to let her tell the prophecy, after which the man argued that there are two ways and the most likely one will happen. However, this path leads to destruction, and they will not be able to enjoy even a drop of happiness. The young man with silver hair now understands that besides the temples, only the Armans had soothsayers capable of predicting sleeping ones. The young lady at this time turns to this man and asks who he is talking to. The Emperor understands that this predictor revealed the Armans' feelings, their envy, and secrets. And he doesn't know if he can use this woman to find out what he needs. However, then the guy sees the young lady touching the cage and claims that this is a criminal who is pretending to be crazy, so it is better to get close. However, the main character only asks if these are really fairies, and the woman then asks why the girl doesn't believe in them. Hey, fairies are visible only to those who have a pure heart. The main character then gets up and asks if this is really so, after which she hugs His Majesty by the hand and claims that she has always had a soft spot for him and cannot resist. The woman then comes into shock and asks if the girl said about His Majesty, and the young lady notes that yes, and they are together, after which she thinks that all she has to do is look at the expression on the guy's face. The Emperor at this time turns to the young lady and says that now. However, At the same moment, someone reaches out to her and says that the girl has exceptional taste. But at the same moment, the emperor presents a sword to this woman and claims that this woman is only a criminal who plays with the minds of people, so it is better not to trust her. You also need to be careful. The main character then thinks that this same tyrant is telling her this, after which he claims that she made a mistake and asks for forgiveness. The girl understands that she came to him because the guy is not the one who will plunge him into eternal sleep. And the main character only thinks whether he will really protect her, after which she rubs her eyes and thinks that this could happen. But the main character then claims that she is very curious because she believes in fairies. The emperor then asks if she is talking about fairies. And the blonde replies that yes, but she doesn't see them, so it was all in vain. The young lady realizes that she is just trying to say it, and His Highness at this time only turns away and sighs, after which he offers to return, after which he looks at the young lady and turns around and sighs, after which the young lady thinks that she doesn't know if she did it this time, and also understands what it means tomfoolery hides when innocence appears. Scarlet thinks that in addition to the usual madness, you need to pay attention to the lack of a sense of reality, and the main character thinks that you can go crazy because the guy ignored her and this is a real disaster. But the emperor then turns to the lady and then extends his hand. The main character doesn't understand why it's him, but he still holds out his own, and the emperor grabs it and attracts you to yourself. And when the young lady looks in front of her, she sees a woman with blonde hair and then asks if they were supposed to meet her. The guy replies that yes, everything is fine, so let the girl ask about anything and the young lady just wonder who it is. The guy in response to this just smiles and claims that even if this woman falls into eternal sleep, then looking at one of the Armands, the lady with silver hair is only silent at this time, but then turns to His Majesty and asks how he is. The emperor replies that everything is fine, and he and Fran haven't seen each other for a long time. The woman then answers His Majesty that yes, and the emperor then turns to the food and tells her to ask her something. Well, the main character only looks at the woman in shock and realizes that this is the real eye of the seer. The woman at this time turns to the young lady and says that it is far away, but she sees everything. The main character then realizes that she is starting to feel dizzy, and the seer only says that she has to make her choice, and the changes have already begun. The woman also tells the pitiful man that what was fixed was once broken, after which the seer says that, let her be blessed, and the main character is already seeing hallucinations. Well then the emperor suddenly pulls her away and tells them to stop. The woman at this time just looks at the guy and replies that this is true, and the main character then turns to the emperor and asks if he can let go of her hand. The guy does so, after which the young lady loses her balance and almost falls. The girl also asks what she should do if he suddenly lets her go. The guy asks if she really has no reflex. The woman just laughs after that. A short time later, the emperor is already sitting at his table, and at this time a young man with green hair approaches him and asks if His Majesty is there because the lady has just gone home. Well, the emperor only answers that it's good, and the advisor then turns to His Majesty and asks what happened in the dungeon and whether Fran accidentally spoke. The guy then answers that yes, and the young man with green hair asks if this is true and what the hell. And the emperor at this time claims that Lady Armand asked to convey that she asks for forgiveness and that the advisor should not hold a grudge against her. The guy also remembers how the young lady insisted that everything was fine, and he just told her not to pretend that everything was fine. And he also said that even if this is a prophecy, it is only a probability, so there is no need to cling to it so much. However, the main character after that only ran her hand over the flowers, and with a smile on her face insisted that they were all really in order, because she wouldn't even pay attention to her words, and no matter what she did, she needed to live for today. The girl also claimed that if she is happy today, then everything is fine, and this is her theory. And the main character said that she was very happy today. The young man with green hair at that time heard everything that happened in the dungeon and says that Fran is talking nonsense, and besides he asks what it means that what was fixed was ever broken, because this is another vague prophecy. But then he also turns to the emperor and asks if the young lady is okay. His Majesty replies that everything will be fine with her. The Emperor then remembers the young lady who seems to be crazy about superstitions and thinks that at least it's not so boring, after which the Emperor smiles and claims that it was not bad. The main character at this time goes home and says that she is even more tired than she expected, so she will go to bed. But at this time someone asks if she has come, and it turns out to be the young lady's brother. The guy also asks what she was doing, that you can't sleep at such a time, and the young lady asks, "What's going on?" The guy then wonders if he shouldn't have said that, but then he finally sighs and says that he's glad she's back, so let the girl go, get ready for bed. But the main character thinks what he's talking about again and asks why he's bothering her. However, the guy asks if she thinks he doesn't know, and shouldn't he worry when something like this happens? Scarlet then thinks it can't be. And the guy then says that she doesn't remember, but asks if she knew that she once almost fell into eternal sleep. Then with tears in her eyes, she asks if she wants him not to worry. Scarlet is then shocked, wondering if he really cared about her, and is also crying now. The main character then apologizes to Ezar and says that next time she will come earlier, after which the young lady thanks him for worrying about her but tells the guy not to worry so much because everything will be fine, after which the young lady also says that she will go and wishes Ezar good night. The girl also thanks him in her thoughts and understands that next time she will try not to fall into eternal sleep, and of course from tomorrow she will begin to act somehow. 3 days later, the young lady arrives at the Imperial Bank and holds out a stack of gold coins with a smile on her face and looks at the puzzled woman who works there. She then asks if the lady wants to buy as many safe zones as possible in the west of the Imperial Palace, and the young lady replies that yes. The woman at this time claims that given the current possession of their status, the girl can acquire about 300 dimes of land, that's about half a football field. Everyone in the bank is also whispering and asking if this is the same crazy Lady Armand, and the girl understands that she hears everything and then only says that it's not bad and she will choose the maximum tariff. The woman then says okay and tells the young lady to sign there because they will contact her later once they get the results. And most importantly, the game doesn't also think that it's great because she figured out the land. After which the girl turns to Sir William and orders the carriage to be prepared. The guy agrees to this and asks if the lady will go straight to the estate. However, the main character replies that no, and she will go to her land. The girl also smiles and understands that if she waits a little, her precious money will be hers. That is, fairies will appear. A short time later, the young lady is already there and realizes that this is called a safe zone. But this zone is closer to the palace than she thought. The girl also understands that in the book, when Shirla meets fairies, they have already been plunged into eternal sleep from hunger for 6 months and will soon be born there. The girl also understands that fairies love sweet fruity aromas, and thanks to this, they met Shirla, who Scarlet dipped in the juice. The girl also understands that this is an important creature who gave wings to Shirla because the girl did not have any powers. And the main character understands that fairies love fruits, so on the way back she should buy seeds from the magic garden because she doesn't need so much, and 1 fairy stone will be enough. At this time, the girl also hears someone else's voice, which claims that it seems they do not want to pay tribute to the completion of Bathory, and apparently because of the invasion of the temple, there are already problems today. It turns out to be His Majesty, and he only answers the court to leave them because they will soon plunge into eternal sleep. However, the guy then, almost crying, turns to His Majesty and he says that either let the guy bring him the ball, and he himself will plunge them into eternal sleep. The main character then realizes that it is Charles and the same blonde from the banquet hall, so the girl thinks what a surprise the whole Emperor went for a walk. His Majesty at this time claims that okay, he will wait a little and then he will say again, no matter how much he blocks the income, his pride cannot be broken. Scarlet then thinks that she herself did not notice how she hid. Well, from the point of view of noisy Scarlet, this is a good idea, after which the young lady thinks that this is unexpected, and the servant turning to His Majesty asks why he is doing this, but the man then hears some sound and asks what it is. At the same moment, a young lady jumps out at the Emperor and claims that she missed him. Then, the girl suddenly stands on a pebble and begins to fall. But His Majesty still grabs her, and the main character understands that this is not at all according to plan. Charles then claims that someone said that Lady Armand was acting like a child. Well, the girl hardly listens to him and understands that the emperor is very handsome up close. However, the guy then asks what she is doing there, and the young lady realizes that she is a little scared. The blonde then realizes that this is Lady Scarlet, but he still wonders why she came out of the forest. And probably the emperor is not in the best mood because of the temple, and it will be terrible if he points a knife at his bride, so you need to save her before the guy explodes. But not then. He asks if His Majesty is okay, and he is probably tired, so he will take the young lady. However, the emperor ignores the guy and only asks the girl if she was hurt. The young lady replies that yes, she hurt her heart too, and His Majesty asks how she hurt her heart even though she didn't even fall. The blonde watches all this in surprise and realizes that although it seems that His Majesty is disgusted, it seems that he does not hate her so much that he does not touch her. And the main character at this time says that His Majesty is so handsome that he touched her heart with his face, and the emperor replies that she is talking nonsense. And Charles then wonders if their relationship is better than he expected, and the guy also understands that he needs to intervene as soon as possible. After which, the blonde turns to His Majesty and says that he has a lot of work. The guy also understands that His Majesty's silence is a good sign. After which, he just tells them to go already, and the main character thinks why Charles doesn't leave, because she would avoid working in his place as soon as possible, and even if it was inappropriate. Scarlet also thinks how long she still needs to dance in front of him, and this is how the outcome of the original story will await her. Therefore, the young lady thinks how much she can anger Charles well. The girl then realizes that this will not work, and she needs to act, after which the main character turns to His Highness and wonders if he asked what she was doing there too. The emperor then replies that yes, the young lady claims that she came to explore the land because she is buying it. His Majesty asks what the young lady is talking about, and the girl answers that naturally that's because they say there are fairies there. The young man with silver hair then asks if she is talking about fairies, and the crazy woman they met in prison immediately comes to his mind. Therefore, the emperor asks how old she is, and the main character claims that she believes in fairies regardless of age, and if she could ever meet fairies, would all her possessions be so important? The main character then thinks about the temperature because she behaves like an idiot who believes in my children's fairy tales and spends a fortune on it. After which she sees how the guy puts his hand on his head and understands that there is a reaction. But she is so pathetic that he doesn't want to see her anymore, but the girl thinks that he won't get rid of her unless he sorts everything out. Therefore, the main character turns to His Majesty and understands that this is not the end. The girl claims that she is His Majesty's fiancé and asks if he can sell her the land cheaper, after which silence hangs between them. And looking at the emperor, the young lady thinks, was it really too much? The guy at this time asks for forgiveness and puts on gloves. The main character then thinks, why is he doing this, and does he really want to hit her? Why do you just close your eyes? Well, the guy just takes a leaf from her hair and then claims that the young lady is not afraid of him, and he will think about her request. Scarlet is then a little surprised and thanks him, and the emperor claims that it is already late and it is time to return. After which the main character tells His Majesty to be careful. A short time later, the girl is already in her bed and wonders why she didn't just say a polite goodbye instead of telling him to be careful. But the young lady also thinks that he is really very handsome, so she doesn't understand if it's some kind of rule that a villain should be handsome, because technically he's still the same. But that's because there wasn't a banquet hall there, and she met him in the forest. The main character then thinks that this is not so, and all this is not because of the situation, because the reason is completely different, and the girl is thinking about how to tell her this. But Charles Calor was confident in his attitude towards the woman he loved and other people, and he is infinitely kind to those he loves, but harsh to others, and Scarlet understood that she was not Charla. The emperor is a representative figure belonging to others. However, remembering how the emperor said that she was not afraid of him, didn't he smile at least a little when he did this? Scarlet also realizes that he is as cold as usual, but at this time someone knocks on the young lady's room, and the girl getting out of bed wonders who is walking there at such a late hour. And is it really the Duke? But it's just the right time to burst into her room and burst into anger now when she doesn't listen to him. He tries to hit her and the girl runs away, but now the young ladies understand that she can't escape. after which the person who is behind the door says that it is he and tells the girl to open it, and then asks if she is sleeping. The girl then realizes that it is all Ezar's voice, but then she decides to play a prank on him and claims that there are strangers there. The guy then gets a little angry and asks if she's in the bathroom, and the young lady realizes that she thought it was the Duke again, after which she still says that she is already on her way, but then she thinks a little and does not understand that she wonders what he is doing there at such a time, and a sheet came with the Duke, after which the young ladies claim that she will not open it, and also asks if he wants to enter the girl's bedroom late at night, but she is very upset. Ezar then asks what she is talking about. Scarlet claims that he is also talking to her in his commanding tone, and the guy claims that he came to say something about this. Let her open the door, the young lady, then thinks that he'd better leave anyway because they never even spoke to him in a friendly manner. After which the girl asks, what if she is not dressed, and the guy screams that this is madness. The main character tells him to speak more quietly. After all, if they quarrel with him, then he knows what the Duchess will do to her, so let him speak from there. The young man then sighs and says that he understands, after which he agrees. But then he leans against the door and claims that today he wanted to tell her that everything will be fine, so let her sleep soundly. The young lady then thinks what he is talking about, and is he really worried about her? And is also afraid that she will not fall asleep because she is afraid of the Duke. Scarlet then opens the door, and the guy is a little surprised by this. However, the main character then only asks if he is sick, and after a few conversations, they are already wishing each other sweet dreams. And unexpectedly that night, the Duke did not call Scarlet. The main character was thinking about how to get him into trouble just in case, and was wondering whether it would be better to give earthly flowers which would make him bald, or a spider bred by the Tower of Magicians A because she feels guilty before Ezar. Meanwhile, Scarlet's fiancé was thinking about her fearlessness towards him, but even before the notorious emperor, she did not flinch. One day, someone claimed that His Highness was born under an unlucky star, and if everything was left as it was, the imperial family and the entire empire would be destroyed. The prediction was groundless, but no one could deny it. Until then, the power of the temple was enormous, and the priest argued that for the prosperity and eternal existence of the empire, it was the fate of the prince to plunge into eternal sleep and need to get rid of the consequences. When everyone believed in the prophecy and rejected the prince, he took up a sword to survive. The guy plunged into eternal sleep, and it was difficult to call him a person. But all he had left was the title of tyrant. Scarlet Armand was special to him. After all, the girl considered him different and easily communicated with him, but if she had heard this, she would not have agreed. But Charles felt that she was not afraid of him. Then the emperor looks at the paper with the lands on the table and remembers the young lady who asked him to sell her the land cheaper. The guy also doesn't understand whether she was scared or embarrassed, but this is the land of fairies, and if he refuses her, the girl will definitely get angry. And that's probably why he thinks that the young lady might still think it's worth trying something. The next day, someone comes to the main character and claims that this document was published in the Empire, and it contains information about the transfer of the safe zone. Therefore, have the young lady read and sign all of this carefully. This turns out to be Charles's undercover advisor, and the main character thanks him, after which she thinks how much she wants to take, but when she looks at the document, she is a little surprised and thinks why the prices are the same. The girl also asks me if the landowner told her anything else, and the young man with red hair asks if there are any problems with the documents. Scarlet replies that no one understands, but it seems he wanted to use the contract as an excuse for the meeting. The advisor at this time claims that His Majesty the Emperor did not say anything more, but if the girl wants, she can ask for an audience, and now he will look at the schedule. The young lady then crumples the document and then realizes that Charles said he would think about it. Therefore, the girl turns to the young man with red hair and asks if he is flirting with her. The guy is surprised at this, and the maid spills the tea. The guy then thinks whether the girl is sure that she is not upset, after which he turns to the young lady and thinks what should he say to His Majesty, because the man said that the guy should remember everything that the young lady says. The girl only claims with a smile on her face that she got carried away and then asks Togo to forget. And the guy thinks that the young lady is much stranger than they say about her, after which he hands over the document and claims that then they should sign the papers. The guy at this time thinks that he cannot believe that his lord is really dating the young lady, after which he just turns away from the girl and the main character wonders if he's playing hard to get. But in front of him now sits the love of his majesty. The main character then signs and asks if this is all about the guy, and replies that yes, and after confirmation by the imperial family, the process will be completed. The girl then hopes that this will be the case, and then they say goodbye. The maid then turns to the miss and asks whether to set the table, and the main character replies that no, and let them prepare the carriage. Lucy then asks where the lady came from, and the girl replies that she is going to the bank because she wants to take another look at the acquired land, after which the maid answers well and claims that everything will be prepared now. A little time later, the main character is already riding in a carriage and eating a tasty treat, and also understands that this will calm her down because she trusts Charles too much and of course thought that she would buy the land at half price, but isn't this misleading? After all, the tyrant said that he thought about it, but the girl understands that she needs to think positively and thinks how she could get angry when she asked for a discount. But she had never worked in a magic garden before. The young lady also thinks, why doesn't she go today, and then thinks that the weather is beautiful today, and asks how much longer to go, and the bunch answers that they are almost there. The main character then thinks that she should look and looks for this magical garden. But when the girl looks at the map, she thinks, is it really wrong? But she is already really going crazy. But suddenly someone addresses the girl, after which the blonde turns around and wonders if it's a woman's voice. After which a woman comes up to her and asks if she is lost. But they say that the girl is out of her mind, but she seems to have problems with her head. But last time she was so amazed that she passed by, but not this time. The main character then looks at this woman and he thinks who it is! The lady with green hair at this time asks if the girl dared to threaten her, because how could she say she's tired of living in such a crowded place because it's so rude? Scarlet then asks if she threatened, but then still remembers how she told the girl if she was tired of living, and then remembering her past life, she asks if she is the green-haired lady from the prom. The girl then gets a little scared and claims that her hair is not green, but golden green, and most importantly, she replies to the heroine that it is clear, but claims that she is not interested. Then he says that if the golden green-haired lady is finished, then she will go. However, the woman then tells her to wait, and claims her name is PRZLV. Well, when the main character turns around, the girl asks if she's listening to her at all, after which she turns to the lady with green hair and claims that she will ask just in case, and then wonder if the girl is trying to make friends with her. And she will be glad if this is not so, because the young lady is not the type of person whom she likes as friends or anyone else. The lady with green hair then shakes and says that the girl as always, and after all she is the daughter of the noble Armand family, trembling before all kinds of evil, someone like her does not even consider a person, and she doesn't even remember her name, after which the woman asks if the girl knows what and claims that the young lady will not live long. The main character is then a little surprised and thinks that this is not groundless nonsense because in the end all the tyrant's brides have already plunged into eternal sleep, some at the hands of himself and some at the hands of someone else. Whatever the truth, it seems to her that she shouldn't talk about it so loudly in the middle of the street because the consequences will be terrifying, and the young lady wonders if she will soon fall into eternal sleep. Then she claims that she never thought that the girl would tell her such a boring story, and Scarlet claims that she sees no point in talking to her anymore. However, the blonde also wonders why everything is so difficult. After which she claims that this is the last warning and thinks that let this girl wait and see. The main character also tells the young lady to watch her language if she does not want to fall into eternal sleep before her, and the girl understands that she will live no matter what. When the young lady leaves, the lady with green hair says that it is very rude. And all this is being watched by a guy who is around the corner. A short time later, His Majesty is already looking at the report and asking if this is the end of the report about the young lady. The guy replies that yes, this is the current investigation. The Emperor then claims that the girl always behaves differently with him, and he wonders if this is her real personality, such crazy behavior or manner of speech, and the young lady even asked if he was flirting with her. After which His Majesty just grins, and the young man with red hair wonders if he is laughing, after which he turns to His Majesty. and asks if he is dating Lady Armand. The Emperor is then a little surprised and wonders if the advisor has gone crazy after following the young lady, and he asked for an investigation not to irritate him, after which the guy just sighs and tells his colleague to stop talking nonsense and do his job, to which he agrees, and Charles asks where Lady Armand is now. The young man with red hair replies that, judging by the data received from other spies, the girl is now in the safe zone. The Emperor then claims that he will finish the investigation himself. The main character at this time remembers that she even dealt with this stalker lady, and these lands turned out to be more expensive than she thought, but in the end, a balance was achieved. After which, the young lady realizes that this is good and wonders if everything is going according to plan. But then someone comes up to her and asks if the girl is here. The main character then turns around and asks His Majesty if it is, but she herself understands that he is a blatant liar. At this time, the Emperor asks what she is doing, and the young lady wonders if he really came to tease her. However, the blonde claims that she is planting fruit trees, and the guy asks why to, which the girl replies that it's good that they will grow in 3 weeks. After which, he sits down next to the main character, and the young lady wonders if he really just sat on the ground, and she's in shock. The Emperor at this time looks at the young people and thinks what it is, and the girl claims that she will bring them as a gift to the fairies. The main character also thinks what to do because she can't come up with anything crazy. Well, she still answers that yes, and she wants to quickly grow them and then give them as a gift. They spent the rest of the time in silence, and then the young lady raised her eyes and looked at the Emperor. He silently looked at her, slightly raising the corners of his lips. And these are just sensations. But the girls, it seems that he didn't even notice that he smiled, and it was as if she saw something that she shouldn't have seen at all. Well then, the young lady turns away and gets a little embarrassed, and then realizes that she is so embarrassed and needs to say something. Scarlet turns around and says that this is her land now, and the guy is a little surprised, and asks what the young lady means. The girl then realizes that he has returned to his normal state again. The guy then claims that this is clear, and now this is her land, and she wants a fee. But the main character replies that it is not, and she does not say she will interrogate. And if he wants to come often, the guy then only agrees and says that upon her return, she should rewrite the contract, and instead of a fee, he will sell her this land at half price. The main character then almost glows and asks if this is true, and wonders if he will suddenly do it so easily. But the Emperor then says that on one condition the young lady understands that she knew it, and then thinks about what else he wants to deceive her for. However, the main character says that let him just talk and she will listen, so when they agree, the young lady asks if he is talking about the right of visitation, and also if he only wants to come in and out. And will there be fruit and everything else there? Her boyfriend then replies, yes. And the main character then smiles sincerely, and the guy understands that he didn't think that the young lady would like it. At this time, the girl just smiles and says that she will have the land at half price. The Emperor thinks that he didn't even suspect that the girl's reaction would be so vivid. Scarlet at this time realizes that it was so easy for her to get a discount, and then realizes that she will break off the engagement. Charles then turns to the girl and argues that the signing of the contract should then be added to the official schedule. The main character then wonders if he really wants to meet her, and wonders what happened with the breakup. The guy only claims that information about the possible date will be sent to the duchy, and then let the girl choose the day that suits her. Scarlet only thinks that the young lady is running around in admiration and he doesn't care, and the young man at this time claims that he will choose a place, after which he leaves and claims that that's enough for today. A few days later at the Armand estate, a maid asks what Lady Scarlet is doing, and the main character then only asks if she's curious and also if she wants to watch. The girl holds a magical insect in her hand, and the maid, seeing this, only gets scared. The main character then steps on this toy and realizes that she has improved it a little. After all, if you step on it, then after that, the shoes will stop. The message about the maid then asks why the girl is doing this, and the young lady asks if she is curious, but then the girl hears someone scream. It turns out to be the Duke, and the servants ask what he is doing, but the man just tells them to all get out of the way. But it is written on his forehead that he is a vile person and should be hanged for his sins. The man immediately bursts into Scarlet's room. and the main character thinks that this is revenge for what he did the day before yesterday. The maid at this time turns to Miss and claims that the Duke is coming there, but the girl then only asks if she is in the mood to meet him today. The maid then claims that she will prepare the carriage, and with the main game does not agree, and also tells her to change her clothes. After all, they will go and eat deliciously, after which he asks what Lucy thinks. And the girl smiles and replies that she will get ready now. The Duke is in his room at this time and is wiping away the mark on his forehead. After this, the butler enters the room and asks if Excellency called him. This man turns out to be the butler of the House of Armand named Vector. The man also asks what happened to the Duke's face, and he only claims that it is very noisy there and asks where Scarlet is. The butler then answers that since the beginning of the treatment and asks whether to call a doctor or a magician. However, the Duke only screams asking who he is teaching and let the guy immediately find her and also bring her to him, because today he will deal with this idiot. After which he also asks what is he worth, because it feels like he is going deaf with age, and the butler is a useless old man. The butler understands that a couple of years ago he could not even imagine something like this, and after all, the current Duke Armand, who is the younger brother of the past Duke Aaron Armand was the first heir of his family, and he was loved by everyone. Many soothsayers said that he would bring prosperity to the family, which was in decline, and the grumpy old men could not help but bow to him. Even when the guy fell in love with a simple girl, no one interfered with their love and his life was ideal, but it did not last long, and he suspiciously fell into eternal sleep at the age of 22, and also left his beloved alone. She became the first Duchess because the Baron preferred her to Duchess Melia, and it seemed as if something was happening, but the woman remained silent until she fell asleep. And now the Duke once again screams for the butler to bring this girl right away, after which the man agrees and understands that His Excellency the Baron has recently become more and more despotic, but in her youth the lady suffered a lot and the man thinks how many times a month this is. A short time later, the main character turns to the butler and asks if the Duke really broke his glasses again. The butler is then a little surprised and says that the lady cannot be there because His Excellency will be very angry. And the main character replies that she is already leaving anyway and will go to the city. However, the butler replies that she is not allowed. The girl claims that it is not free, and she has an offer in return. After which the young lady approaches the butler's ear and claims that she will help him if he wants to tease the Duke, and she also asks the butler not to tell anything about the Duke himself, after which he agrees. And the main character says that's good then. The man then realizes that he is glad that the lady is shining. The Emperor at this time is in his room and only laughs, after which he realizes that he did not think that she would be happy with him and also thought that she would simply scream, but he did not expect that she would run like that. But the guy claims that's exactly what happened. The young man also thinks that she is really talking about breaking off the engagement because she is playing the role of a crazy lady, and she is such a funny girl. The tyrant liked her harmless motives and was amused that the girl was not acting at all as she expected. For him, a man who rarely laughed, her existence was an interesting phenomenon, so for some time he pretended that he had no idea about anything. Observation will not harm anyone, and if he ever saves her life without knowing that in a month he will do everything to get her, and the main character at this time turns to Ezar and asks how things are and also whether he changed his hairstyle. And he began to look like a noble person, and also she didn't even recognize him. The main character realizes that her brother is dressed differently, and at this time the young man asks why she just came out now. The girl claims that she slept for a long time, and then asks where the Duke and Duchess are, and also wonders if they are ready to receive guests. The girl understands that the estate was elaborately decorated, and today is one of the main days in the duchy. This is the day of dinner with the elders. They say that when important guests come to the duchy, the whole family gathers at the table, even if the guest himself has not arrived. The brunette at this time asks why the girl listened to the Duke, and the young lady asks what he was talking about, but understands that if more details are given, this is to show the harmony and health of the family. But as Ezar said, she did not want to take part in this, on the orders of the Duke, but the young lady is thinking what should she do if she is interested in what the elders look like. After which the young lady turns to her brother and tells him to wait for her. The young lady also tells him that she bought a safe zone, but the guy tells his sister not to talk about this in front of the Duke and Duchess, to which the young lady agrees. Well, then someone asks why they are walking there. It turns out to be the young lady's stepmother, and the main character says that she and ma'am haven't seen each other for a long time. The woman only claims that the elders will arrive soon, so let them come in quickly. Ezar then turns to Scarlet and tells her to come quickly, after which the young lady agrees. Well, she thinks that the woman is somehow strange, and doesn't understand if something happened, but her look is even more poisonous. The brunette at this time turns to Scarlet and claims that she constantly behaves like this, and it also seems as if she is always doing some useless things just like her mother. The main character then turns around and asks if the woman just cursed her, and she remembers her mother when she wants to quarrel. Ezar then tells Scarlet to calm down, but the girl only asks who could say such a thing to the orphan. But she heard such words from her, and it seems that the woman has lost the wisdom characteristic of her years. After that, the brunette just smiles and says that the girl really is. However, before she can finish her sentence, someone turns to Miss and claims that she is right. The other man also claims that he doesn't like it, but she is right after, which someone says that they are glad to meet the Duchess. And the main character thinks that everything can be understood at first glance, and these are the elders. Well, they then ask how long they will block the door. The man also claims that they shouldn't do something like that in front of everyone, so they should go inside. The main character then realizes that, oh well, this is not the first time she has quarreled with her. A little time later, the girl is already sitting at the table, and Ezar brings her one of the dishes and asks if she is feeling better already. The girl then asks what he is talking about. And the guy only claims that he is sorry that the girl heard this from the Duchess, but the main character claims that it is not he who should ask for forgiveness for this, after which he tells him not to worry and eat because he is worried about nonsense, after which the guy agrees. The main game does not then say that it's okay to ask her. Don't the elders seem as strong-willed as the Duchess? The guy claims that he saw them at the last meeting in California, and their character is certainly not sweet, but it may seem different to her, and the main character then asks why, after which the guy wonders if she's asking because she really doesn't understand. And after all, the girl looks like her mother, and then asks if she knows what this also means for them. Ezar told the young lady about the relationship between the Armans and the elders, which was not mentioned in the novel. What was unusual was that the Arman family had existed for a long time, and regardless of the country, they guarded the borders of the monster forest. To be complete, the cooperation of the elders and their families is necessary. Therefore, unlike other families, the elders have a special influence on the Armans. And in the end, to become the true head of the family, you need to win their trust, but now is the moment when the relationship between the elders and the head of the family is not the best. And they even hate family members, let alone trust them and be supportive. But the past Duke was a man of honor, and as before, the elders will no longer be the same, and probably because they are on the side of the past Duke. Therefore, for them who loved the past, Duke and his beloved Scarlet's existence is important. And the main character then replies that it's clear to her, and the guy is only wondering if it's awkward for a girl to talk about her family, but she's completely ignorant of issues that interest her, and he thinks that she didn't know about that either. The main character at this time thinks that in the book, even the great elders fell into eternal sleep as a result of the conflict and corruption of the family. And she thinks that if she escapes, then everything will happen like in the book. Well, then all these people will be destined to plunge into eternal sleep at the hands of the tyrant and even her brother. The guy at this time turns to Scarlet and asks if she's really okay. The girl answers and asks what they were talking about, and the guy tells her to come to her senses because after dinner they will be invited to California. The main character then realizes that the others have nothing to do with her, and she doesn't have to be responsible for them at all. The guy at this time just puts his hand on the young lady's hand and claims that since all the elders are there, let her not show herself in a bad light. The main character then asks what's wrong with his hand, and the guy asks what kind of hand it is, and then looks at how he put his hand on the young lady's hand. and he immediately takes her away, after which with a blush he claims that he didn't even notice, and just suddenly she began to look so amazed and worried. The main character then replies that she is clear, and this time she will believe him, but then asks what happened to his face. After this, Ezar only tells her not to look at him like an idiot, and the young lady understands that there must be a way to save Ezar. And this guy is the only one who is important to her, so she wants to save him. Not much time has passed since she came into this world, and someone here even treats her well and also cares because this is the maid Lucy, and her only half-brother Ezar is in this estate. At least they should survive, and the main character thought that this would suit the elders, but the question is how to save them. The guy at this time turns to Scarlet and tells her to wake up because they are going to meet the young lady. Then they agree and understand that she is not strong enough to take responsibility, after which he thinks whether among the Armans there was anyone strong enough to protect them. But the main character then understands that even if there was, then why protect them? The guy at this time turns to the head butler and he only bows and then says that the young master and the young lady have arrived and His Excellency is waiting for them. Ezar then looks at his sister and asks if she is ready, and the girl replies that she is ready and understands that for now the priority is a meeting with their head of the family, after which she walks in and the two of them are greeted. The Duke then asks why they got up and let them pass and also sit down. Ezar obeys His Excellency the Duke and the main character only remains silent, after which she sees the glances of the elder and wonders why she didn't think about this because Scarlet had elders. And now, the young lady understands that she has found how to save Ezar and Lucy. Now the money that Scarlet spent on humiliating Shirla she received from the elders, and the girl thinks why they gave her money that was spent on harming others. And the reason is simple. After all, it is that they had a soft spot for Scarlet's mother, and her daughter had no choice but to become weak. Well, no matter how close she was to Scarlet's mother, even the elders who gave her the debt money had to convince everyone that anyone associated with black magic should be executed. Therefore, the main character understands that this time she will not take money from the elders. At this time, someone announces that they will begin a meeting of the heads of the Arman family, and the main character understands that instead of Togo, they will owe her. The Duke is then asked if they are asking for money. One of the elders then claims that, to be honest, this is not only for the sake of his family, and he understands that if the fence of the Forest of Monsters is destroyed, then the entire continent will be under threat, but Hertz only answers that yes, and says that they want him to pay for the poisonous mushrooms or something like that. One of the elders then says that this is not a poisonous mushroom, but plants that have a striking effect on monsters. The woman then screams that if this continues, the head of the family will not be able to escape responsibility, and the Duke then asks if they are threatening him. The main character then claims that there is more dogging at this meeting than she thought, and Ezar claims that he told her about this. The elder then states that by order of His Majesty last month they destroyed a group of goblins on the outskirts of the monster forest, and their place was taken by minotaurs, and the Duke then asks what they should do now, and the elder replies that he already talked about this because their only way out is to come to an agreement with the minotaurs. The main character then realizes that even in the original story, the events in the Forest of Monsters took place around this time. The ancient magic discovered by the Arman ancestors and the barrier between the forest and the rest of the territory began to weaken. Now they are trying to keep the monsters out, using Cavell, but they alone cannot solve the problem. The main character then raises her hand and realizes that it would be nice to keep everything in this state, after which she claims that they need Cavell, but asks if they could tell them what happened. However, the woman then claims that it doesn't matter, and the fact is that they don't even know themselves. The young lady then asks if they can find out, and the woman states that one should not go into the monster forest because it is a forbidden area, and who would risk their life and go there. The main character then realizes that she agrees, and therefore the tyrant accused them of incompetence, after which she understands that she needs to take stock, and in this case the culprit is some kind of flower. He turns monsters into mutants who do not feel pain and sends them away. The Arman elders did not know this and tried to stop the demons with Cavell, but the situation only worsened. In the end, the tyrant went into the monster forest to personally solve the problem. Surprisingly, he found a flower not so far away. and stability returned to the forest, but the elders went to the guillotine. When the Minotaur disappeared, wyverns appeared, and in order to save the mouth, the problem must be solved as soon as possible. The Duke at this time only claims that he has no money, and therefore let them keep this in mind, and the young lady understands that it is fortunate. The tyrant's words and actions fit the description of the flower, so she remembered everything, and for her finding this flower is like 2 fingers on the asphalt, and in this case the girl understands that she will help them. At this time, Ezar turns to Scarlet asking why she laughed so much because he is worried. The young lady then replies that it's nothing, and she just had an idea. The guy then asks what she's up to since she's so inspired. A little time later, the elders are already getting out of the carriage, after which the man tells them to distribute everything well so that they don't get confused because they need to load the suitcases into the cart. One of the servants then replies that he understands. And the main character then approaches one of the elders and addresses her, after which she is greeted. The woman then asks what the young lady is doing there, and is she really mocking the elders? And the girl replies that not at all, and that everything is completely wrong because she would like to give them something, after which the young lady presents them with jewelry, and claims that she inherited it from her mother. The elder is then a little surprised, and the women ask why the place does this. And the main character claims that she thinks they will need it and asks if they didn't talk about this at the meeting. And she is not the head of the family, so this is the only thing she can give them, and also really hopes that it will be useful. The girl claims that their family values the elders very much, but the fact that they were refused today does not mean that they don't care about them. After which the young lady also tells them to be careful. However, the woman claims that she will not leave right now, and the young lady asks if this is true, and the elder claims that she wants to wait a few days and then asks if it is possible to give up so quickly, because this is a serious question. The elder also states that they are grateful for the young lady's kindness and will definitely repay her. And the main character then, with a smile on her face, understands that she has shown a sufficient degree of kindness, and it is better to talk when the issue is resolved, but she will tell them when the right moment comes. And when she leaves, they must protect Ezar and Lucy. A little time later, the maid already turns to the miss and claims that she said that the elders will remain in the eastern villa for now. Their main character says that apparently they are going to stay there, and the girl then claims that a letter has also arrived from the imperial palace, and the young lady asks where the desired one is, after which the maid hands over this letter about the main character realizing that family meetings have distracted her, and she didn't even know that the schedule would come today, after which the main character looks there and realizes that His Majesty is busy with government affairs, and the next one is on the schedule. The girl is a little surprised to read that there is a request written there to respond as soon as possible, and the young lady wonders if he is serious because she thought it was a breakup letter, after which the young lady wonders if he has gone crazy. But as she thought this vile tyrant cannot be relied upon, then the young lady realizes that she too must change strategy. The girl then turns to Lucy and tells her to bring her some walking clothes. And the maid then asks what the lady wants, and the young lady claims that she wants the most elegant, but not without nobility, and also a beautiful color. Lucy then thinks that the mistress most likely wants her to prepare a dress for her, after which she claims that it's good, and she will prepare it for her tomorrow. Well, okay, the game doesn't answer that, she doesn't, and she needs it now. After all, she is going to meet someone, after which the young lady thinks that they will see if he can stand it. The guy with green hair at this time is only thinking about why everything is going so well, because he is filling out work papers for the first time in a month. And the morning meeting was cancelled so that he could sleep normally. So the emperor thinks that if only it were like this every day. Well, he thought so, only before he was informed about the meeting with Lady Scarlet. And now someone claims that the girl said that it was on an important matter and even got ready in a hurry so she didn't have time to warn, and he asked the girl to wait in the cart. But when the young man with green hair sees the girl, he is even more shocked and asks if she really went out unaccompanied. The young lady then sees the guy in the window and just happily waves at him, after which he tells him to let the girl in. A short time later, he pours her tea and tells her to drink it because it's tea brought from the east. And if she doesn't like tea, then he can bring her coffee. However, the main character just looks at him and thinks whether he is afraid to say anything. The guy then asks why the young lady came, and the girl claims that even though she arrived suddenly, she would never believe that he didn't care. Then she claims that the Prime Minister did not convince her. The young lady also asks if he remembers when they first met. And their first meeting took place in a dungeon. It was sad and beautiful, and fate began to play its cruel joke. The guy then thinks in shock what she is talking about, and the main character only says that he is her earth and her air, and she is so ashamed that she doesn't even know what to do. The guy then just screams that he has never felt anything like this, and the young lady asks how long he suffered alone. And the Prime Minister, His Majesty's servant, has such feelings for her. However, the young man with green hair then asks in shock what she is talking about now about the young lady, and understands that if the tyrant does not care about madness, then there is another way. The maid is a little surprised at this time and asks what is going on there, and one of the servants replies that he doesn't know. The young lady understands that, of course, this guy is a person who can cause a lot of problems for those around him, and thinks that it will be more difficult with high-ranking people. Now the main character turns to the Prime Minister and asks if he likes her. And the guy just looks at her in shock and thinks that this is a disaster. The main burning thinks that she names Clover as her first victim. The young lady only says that she understands and love is so uncontrollable. And whether you want it or not, she will still settle in the heart, but this has already happened to her, so she's used to it. But no matter how honest the guy is, the heart has nowhere to go. The young man with green hair just screams in shock. What the hell is she even talking about? And the young lady claims that this is exactly how he behaves and asks if this is not so, and the guy worries when he sees her and also stutters and breaks out in a cold sweat. The guy then doesn't even know what to say, and the young lady once again turns to the Prime Minister and claims that he cannot deceive her. The girl also understands that this guy was dumbfounded. The young man with dirty hair only wonders what this girl is talking about, and whether his actions could really be interpreted that way. But this cannot be. And he wonders if everyone else thought the same. But the smartest man in the Empire so easily fell for such nonsense because he is single and has never been in a relationship. The guy at this time, only with embarrassment, claims that this is nonsense and to say that he likes the girl too much. At this time, the young lady with a smile on her face asks if he admits that he likes her, and the guy just turns away and wonders if love really should be so unpleasant. But all his life he was busy only with work, and how could he know what love is like? The guy also understands that he doesn't know what to do, but he needs to correct the situation. The guy then turns to the lady and claims that this is true or not, but suggests not to talk nonsense, and the young lady asks why, after which the guy thinks why it turned out to be Lady Armand. The guy then answers the young lady's question why by saying that she is already engaged to His Majesty. But then he still realizes in shock, what if His Majesty finds out that he is in love with his bride? He definitely won't turn a blind eye to all this. The main character at this time is thinking about what it is. Then he turns to Sir Clover and asks if he is crying. Scarlet also wonders if he really doesn't like it so much that he even cried. After which the young lady rises from her seat and asks for forgiveness, after which she asks if it was too much for him. The guy then just turns to the young lady and asks if she likes to laugh at him, after which the main character thinks that he is so rude. The girl then replies that yes, that's all, because he likes her and she didn't want it to sound like that. The guy then thinks that everything is wrong and the young lady came to laugh at him, but then he thinks what love is. Scarlet then only asks for forgiveness for offending him, even though he does not accept his feelings. After this, the guy just sighs, and the young lady asks if she is beautiful and says that she knows, after which the young man screams that everything is wrong. And when the young lady goes home, she realizes that she herself didn't notice how she got carried away, and it turned out even worse than she thought. But the young lady thinks that she still hopes that the Prime Minister will tell the Emperor's assistant about what happened, because if they all hate her, then the Emperor must be shocked. After all, no matter what the tyrant, he must save face as a king. At this time, the blonde man turns to the Prime Minister and asks if he is there, after which the guy enters the room and claims that he is about a meeting in the afternoon and wants to report to His Majesty. However then, The guy only sees that the Prime Minister is sitting in despair and asking what happened. The young man with green hair then turns to Count Lumen and says that he is very popular among the young ladies. The guy then replies that yes and asks why he's suddenly interested, and the young man then claims in highlighted stripes that he must know what it means to fall in love. The blonde replies that the Prime Minister had never talked to him about this before, and the young man with green hair only asks if it's really when a person's legs shake, and his hands often beat on his heart to the point of dizziness. The blonde man then replies that he doesn't think the Prime Minister is talking about himself and asks if he is sick. However, Clover then asks what he is talking about, and the blonde asks what is happening and also why he is saying some kind of nonsense. And the young man with green hair then says that the guy should forget, and he also understands that he knew better than anyone about what happened today told. The next morning, a young lady stands outside the annex at the Armin estate and thinks this is strange. After all, it's not even lunchtime yet, and so she doesn't understand where the elders went. But she even asked Lucy to bake them cookies. The main character understands that before eliminating the problem with the forest of monsters, she decided to draw their attention to Lucy, and if they hated it, then where could they go? At this time, one of the elders comes up from behind and asks if it is Lady Scarlet. The main character is then greeted with her, and the woman asks what they are doing there. The main character replies that she came by and asks where they were. The woman replies that they met with the largest merchants in Kaval and will need to make a large purchase. The young lady then asks if they have met and then introduces her maid Lucy, but realizes that there is absolutely no interest. The main character then wonders if they brought it there, and Koval then claims that she read books about him but never saw him in person, so she is very interested. The woman replies that she has a couple because she doesn't know what kind they want to sell her. After which she hands over the mushrooms and claims that Koval looks like this. And the main character looking at them says that it's very cute and asks if these mushrooms really scare away monsters. The woman then replies that their scent temporarily paralyzes the monsters, and the girl thinks that this is a little strange and then does not understand why the body suddenly stopped obeying. Then the girl completely falls off her feet, and the maid immediately runs up to Miss in concern. A little time later, the main character already comes to her senses and thinks that she has a headache. She doesn't understand what happened, and she just talked to Lady Adrian in front of the villa. Well, then the girl wonders if she really teleported. However, the young lady says that Togo cannot be well. She also thinks that this is a good moment, and she will have once seen this place and moreover has never been here. But this must be a forest of monsters. Well, then the main character turns around and is a little surprised. After all, she sees the main character. The girl understands that this is the tyrant's beloved and does not understand what she is doing in such a dangerous place. The girl only claims that they said it should be here somewhere. A product that can replace Cavil. The main character then thinks what kind of remedy this is, and the girl only claims that she needs to win his heart. And the main character then remembers that in the novel Shirla found something that could replace Koval. Well, the young lady thinks that the girl didn't guess it herself, and she definitely said that it was in the forest of monsters, which means someone told her. Well, the main character thinks who the hell it could be, because firstly, this is not a tyrant, and if Charles knew, he wouldn't tell her that he decided everything himself. Scarlet also thinks it's pretty clever, but needs to keep an eye on this girl. And now, the first thing you need to do is find out everything about the product. And if you remember, the girl wonders if this scene was in the novel, and there are significant differences with the novel. The lady with red hair stops at this time and then says that there he is, Slime Geppetto. The young lady then realizes that this slime is not poisonous, but is a forest predator that feeds on monsters and is small and cute, and also harmless to people, but can swallow anyone, even the most ferocious monster. Therefore, now the young lady understands that a product that can replace Koval is Geppetto slime. The main character then, with a smile on her face, thinks that she is lucky because she found out about the location, so that the next time she comes there, she will be able to find it. But at this time, someone shakes Scarlet and asks if she can hear him and then screams for the girl to wake up. It turns out to be Ezar, and he worriedly asks if she is okay. The young lady then looks also at the maid, who turns to Miss Scarlet with concern. Well, the main character, when she is surprised and asks why they are all like that. The girl then asks if she really lost consciousness right in front of the villa, and if the guy really came all this way with her in his arms. The young man then answers that everything is so, and she is nothing but trouble. The girl then thinks that this is so strange because she did not lose consciousness even when she remembered scenes from the novel. The elder then asks if the lady is really okay because she fell out of the blue, and this is a problem. Ezar also claims that Lady Adrian is right. It's good that there were people nearby and they immediately brought the girl there. But what if she lost consciousness where there was no one? The guy also says that if the young lady is not well, then let her rest and take her time, and also not worry. After all, if she is uncomfortable in the estate, then she can go somewhere else. The main character then wonders if he is talking about vacation, and understands that she wants to go to the estate as an elder, and this is an excellent excuse. At this time, the woman notices the young lady's gaze, and then asks, "What's the matter?" And the main character only understands that this is an excellent destination. But then one of the elders says that he is against it because if a girl wants to relax or just go on a trip, then why go to them? The young lady only claims that their territory is also their family's territory after all, and sending is not a problem. The woman then claims that their territory borders a forest of monsters and asks if the girl understands how dangerous it is. But the young lady asks what's wrong with you if she wants to go. After which she says that they should show it to her because all state affairs are connected, and when she returns, she will tell the Duke about everything that she saw and heard. It would also be great to take a video communication tool with you. After all, these are more than words. And it's better for the father to see everything with his own eyes, but the young lady's brother then tries to object. And the woman just claims that this is not a bad idea, and the young lady claims that she will consider that they agreed, and then think that this should have happened, and instead of continuing to lean on her father. If they take her, then he will be able to see everything with his own eyes, and the Duke will have no other choice, except to agree. Then one of the elders claims that she will talk to the Duke. However, Ezar replies that he does not agree, and the young lady asks what he is talking about, and the guy only once again states no. And even if the Duke agrees, he is against it, after which the guy asks if the young lady really wants to go with them to such a dangerous place. After all, the journey there alone will take at least 3 days. However, the young lady then turns to her brother and tells him not to worry, she will not go there alone. The young man then asks with whom, and the girl replies that he will soon find out. A short time later, the Emperor is already reading the sheet and then turns to Clover Gason and says that he has something to do, so let the guy move everything forward 2 weeks. The young man with green hair then asks where His Majesty is going, and the guy replies that the young lady seems to want to go somewhere. A short time later, the butler already claims that the carriage is ready, and you can leave as soon as it is served. The Duke claims that the imperial family will soon be visiting, so he needs to behave appropriately, but the elders say that this needs to be told to the Duke. The main character understands that she will finally go to the forest of monsters, but she thinks why Charles is still not there because he should have gone a long time ago. The Duke claims that the Emperor is late, and it does not matter that he is a member of the Calor family, but must respect them. The main character then asks why her father is so happy, and her brother replies that he should be proud that the Emperor himself is coming to him. The young ladies then ask if it is true that the imperial family has never visited the Armans before, and Ezar asks if he really thought it was a joke. The girl understands that although the Duke's intonation could indicate the opposite, she still thinks it's true. The Calor imperial family and the Arman family. The relationship between the border guard family and the ruling imperial family has always been in the first place. Long-term relationship. So everything will end with the wrath of the tyrant because the Armans did not fulfill their duties. At this time, Ezar turns to the young lady and asks what the hell she is thinking about since going with His Majesty is a bit too much. However, the main character then asks if she is not His Majesty's fiancée and understands that they are forced to be together for 3 days and 3 nights, and she wants him to get tired of her. During this time, Ezar then asks what the girl told the Duke, and the young lady replies that she said that she would go there to recover, and he immediately allowed it. Well, she still thinks that there is something suspicious about it. The young lady recently addressed His Excellency the Duke, And the man then turned around and asked why she didn't knock, and the young lady asked if this was so. Then she claimed that she needed to tell him something and asked if it was possible Scarlet also wondered what he was hiding there because she could see everything. The girl also claimed that she had recently fainted and apparently felt ill, so she was thinking about going to the elders for a while. Scarlet also saw a crystal ball for communication and wondered if the man was having a secret love affair. The Duke then asked where the girl would stay, and the young lady replied that at Lady Adrian's estate, to which the man only remained silent and then told her not to say that she wanted to become an heiress. The young lady was then a little surprised and asked what he was talking about because she wouldn't have done it even if he had allowed her. The girl also asked if he didn't know that she was dreaming of not working. The Duke then claimed that he could not afford her, and the young lady wondered why he hated her so much. After which she asked if he allowed her to go, and realized that this was not even hatred, but caution. The blonde then claimed that he saw how sick and thin she was. She needed a quiet place and fresh air. However, after that, the man only smiled and replied that it would be fine along the way. However, the young lady then asked what he was talking about and claimed that she had not heard. The Duke replied that this means that he allows her, and when these old people leave, she can follow them. Scarlet agreed to this and then said that with his permission she would go, but the man then asked if she really didn't remember anything like a seal or a ring, and he asked again and again, but he doesn't understand why the girl pretends that she hasn't heard about this for the first time. The main character then thinks about what he is talking about and then claims that no, and he's just like a bolt from the blue and she doesn't remember anything. However, the girl thinks that it cannot be, and is it really that the Duke is looking for this? The man at this time claims that if she doesn't remember anything, then okay. And the main character thinks about the Armand seal. This is the magic inherited by the Armands from generation to generation, as well as proof of family membership existing in the form of rings or seals. Does the Duke have this? If that is why he did not become the real head of the family? What does it mean that only the PRZLV seal can help? Well, the young lady then thinks why the man is asking Scarlet about her. And she doesn't know why, but in the end, it's useful to remember this because every time she takes on different forms and she doesn't know what form she is in now. At this time, Ezar turns to his sister and asks what she is doing. The girl doesn't understand what he's talking about, and the brunette just tells her to bow because His Majesty has arrived. The girl then also bows, and the Duke immediately greets His Majesty and says that he has come a long way there. The Emperor then thanks Duke Armand for the invitation. There the man then says that his family knows him as His Majesty. The main character at this time watches all this and says that the Duke is so excited that His Majesty is not even listening. Ezar replies that he agrees and then turns to the young lady. And he asks who these two are. The young lady then realizes that this is the blonde man, Count Lumen, who is the head of intelligence, and nearby apparently is the commander of Charles's knights, but then she thinks to find out exactly who they are. Now the main character claims that she is seeing them for the first time. But Ezar then wonders why they like the girl so much. The young lady then thinks seriously why they are smiling so much. The Emperor at this time approaches the girl from behind and addresses her, to which the young lady is a little scared. And he wonders if it's Charles. The guy only claims that the young lady falls beautifully, and the girl then thinks why she is worried, and is it really because they haven't seen each other for a long time? The Emperor at this time only greets her and asks how she is doing, and the main character then replies that she kept thinking about him and could not think that time could drag on for so long. Charles replies that this is commendable, and the young lady thinks in shock, what is this guy supposed to be angry about? His Majesty at this time turns to Lumen and tells him to bring there what he asked for, to which the guy agrees. After which the young lady is presented with a bouquet and the blonde claims that it is a gift from His Majesty. The main character then asks why all of a sudden there are flowers, and the guy replies that he saw these flowers and thought about her, after which the girl became a little embarrassed. She asks why, but she doesn't understand whether he really thinks that she is as beautiful as these flowers. Well, at this time, the guy just asks if they don't resemble her head, after which the main character thinks what a brute he is. And the blonde guy behind him laughs and claims that he was right. The knight commander then replies that the guy really was right, because to think that His Majesty was having fun like that, but it seems he really did fall in love. Then the man tells Miss Scarlet to get into the carriage. And when the young lady looks at her, she thinks what's wrong with the carriage. One of the elders then replies that it's their carriage and asks if something is wrong. The main character then realizes that it seems they really need money, after which she says that perhaps she should go in the same carriage with His Majesty. But the butler claims that His Majesty did not say anything about this and asks whether to prepare another carriage for them. But the emperor replies that it is not necessary, and they are still going to the same place, and the main character thinks that such moments he does not treat her as a bride. At this time, Ezar turns to Scarlet, and the girl then asks what it is and why he hasn't left yet. And the young man replies that it is because she is still here. After which he also asks if the girl remembers what he told her yesterday. And the young lady understands that no matter how much she thinks about everything, Ezar is really worried. The main character remembers how the guy approached her yesterday. After which he asked if she really liked His Majesty, and the girl almost choked on this. Then she asked why she liked him and why the guy was asking about it. However, the young man asked why she was so surprised, because they were engaged. After which the brunette also asked if His Majesty is not known for his cruelty. And the young lady then thought that yes, but she doesn't understand how he can call the tyrant simply cruel because of the people he plunged into eternal sleep. You can put a whole mountain. However, the girl only answered Ezar that these were wonderful words. But the guy after that only asked what was wrong with her and whether he really said something wrong. Scarlet replied that no, and this time he was right. The guy then asked what she thought about the emperor's cruelty, and the young lady only asked if it mattered. Ezar replied that it mattered to him, because the girl wanted to marry him, and the young lady replied that she was still uncomfortable talking about it. After which the guy only claimed that they needed to discuss something, because she is his younger sister. The main character then asked if the guy was afraid that he would be cruel to her, to which the guy replied and claimed that he was worried because no matter how much she liked His Majesty, he couldn't just stand and watch him hurt her. The main character, looking at her brother's face, just laughed. Then with tears of laughter, "Thank you, what's wrong with his face, and also how many times should she tell him so that he doesn't worry because she can take care of herself?" And the guy then just shyly asked if she could listen seriously. Well, Scarlet then thanked him and claimed that he was the only one who was worried about her, and the guy then told her to take it. And the main character asked what it was, after which the young man claimed that it was a magical device for sending messages, and he could communicate over a long distance with the person who had such a device in his hands. Therefore, if the young lady is in danger, then let him immediately inform him and he will go to her. Now the young lady says that the guy also does not forget what she asked and states that it is necessary to water the safe zone once a week, and then asks if he understood. The girl also says that she will be back soon, and the young man with a smile on his face tells her to return to Korea, after which they hit the road. One of the knights then says that this is just funny and they left not long ago. But he doesn't even know how many times they've already stopped, and he doesn't even know where all these bandits come from. The main character then replies that she doesn't know either. But then, in shock, he asks what the Count is doing there, and why he's not riding in their beautiful imperial carriage. The man then asks the lady how he can ride in the same colleague with His Majesty, and Scarlet asks Togo not to talk nonsense and return to his carriage. But the guy then just ignores her and says that they are bandits again, and then asks if this is because of the poor organization of the territory. Well, the young lady in her thoughts tells him not to pretend that he is not in the know. At this time, someone turns to Miss Scarlet and asks for forgiveness. It turns out that this is the elders, and the main character then realizes that this is their territory. Scarlet then asks why they are apologizing because she thinks that the bandits appeared because the imperial carriage was traveling with them. Well, fortunately, they are accompanied by knights and His Majesty in the carriage in front of them. Therefore, the girl asks if they think that the bandits are his equal. But suddenly someone screams that one of the bandits has escaped. After which the knight screams so that everyone will be confused and find him again. This rat cannot be released alive for anything. But at the same moment, the main character looks out the window in shock. And he sees that same bandit there and then says that he has finally found Scarlet Armand. Well, at the same moment, someone hits his head on the carriage from behind. And the young lady understands that this is His Majesty. The Emperor at this time asks not for the sake of the role, but the girl replies that no, and thanks to him she is safe. While the elder is worried about his carriage, the young lady only understands that she was surprised, and then asks what His Majesty is doing there. Other knights also head to His Majesty and ask if he is okay, and the young ladies realize that behind them is the Emperor's favorite horse, and the young lady thinks that he just shouldn't say that he rode here on a horse. The Emperor at this time only says that the lady should come out and extends his hand to her, after which he offers to go together to his karate. When the girl is already in the imperial carriage, she asks what he just meant. And the guy asks if she really has no idea, and then claims that it is Lady Armand who is looking for these villains, after which the guy asks if she has heard about the Pan assassins. The girl then realizes that this is an imperial family from another empire that produces many unknown assassins. There is a rumor that they end up wherever they are mentioned, and because of their goal, falling into a frenzied sleep is inevitable. And no matter who the goal is, it will end. But the main character also thinks that Scarlet cannot have anything to do with this. Therefore, she claims that she has never heard of them and only knows that they are a family of assassins. But considering that this Pan didn't, they show two unprofessional skills. The Emperor discerns that this is accurate, but they used Pan's breath. And even if they are not from this group, they are still assassins, so they cannot be equated with ordinary thieves. So the man asks if there is someone who wants to plunge the young lady into eternal sleep. The main character then thinks that maybe it was Duke Armand and this is just a guess, but cannot be ruled out. The young lady, when she asks if they will return, and the Emperor replies that he is sure that their return will not be such a big problem. The young lady, when she asks what he is talking about, and whether he is saying that the Pan assassins chasing her is a small problem, the girl also thinks whether he really wants to say that he doesn't care whether she plunges into eternal sleep or not. Therefore, the young lady says that this is true and His Majesty may consider the current situation a trifle, but for her, it is not. However, the Emperor then turns to the lady and asserts what he means is that she has nothing to worry about, at least while she is with him, because no one will dare to lay a finger on her so she can calm down. The commander of the knights at this time turns to Lady Armand and claims that they sincerely ask for forgiveness because this incident was only their fault, so he asks to spare them this time. The main character then replies that everything is fine and everyone arrived safe and sound, but the road was so calm that she even fell asleep in the middle. Then the girl also looks at His Majesty and, noticing his gaze on herself, asks if something is wrong. The guy replies that everything is fine and now he will let go of the situation since these guys left in order. The commander of the knights then thanks His Majesty, and the young lady wonders if it was really that unusual. The blonde at this time also turns to His Majesty and says that he needs to check something. The main character then says that they will see each other at dinner, and the guy tells her to rest, to which the young lady agrees and claims that she will wait for him. The girl understands that although it was just an awkward carriage ride, she was safe thanks to His Highness. And the young lady also wonders if this means she should thank him. A short time later, the knights are already laying out tents and starting to cook. The young lady then taps her glass and asks for everyone's attention for a moment. After everyone turns their attention to her, the young lady claims that she just wants to thank everyone for today. After all, they tried hard and they arrived safely. One of the elders then asks what the girl was up to this time, and the main character claims that since everyone has finished dinner while they are resting, she wants to give them a gift for their hard work that is a wonderful serenade. Then His Majesty also approaches the table, and the young lady with a smile on her face looks at him at the entrance, for which the girl says that they should listen carefully. And he starts singing The Knights Then Watch All This. And they say a little puzzled that the lady is probably not very good at singing. The girl also thinks what about them? Scarlet understands that the gift is not that special, but the tyrant will not be impressed by anything simpler, and now she is going to look at his expression. Then he sees that he is smiling, and the main character is shocked, wondering why it's him. And is Charles really smiling? That evening, the young lady goes to bed and thinks how tired she is. The girl thought that the guy wouldn't like it if she sang in front of others, but it happened completely the other way around, and who knew that he would dissipate. Scarlet also thinks whether he felt ashamed of her, and the girl doesn't even know what else she can do in this cart. And then she thinks that since she can't sleep, maybe she should take a walk. The young lady goes outside, but then sees His Highness there with the horse. Then he asks what His Majesty is doing there. The guy replies that he is returning to his patrol and asks if something happened to the lady. The girl replies that she just wanted to get some air. And the Emperor asks if she is really alone at such a late hour. The young lady answers that yes and asks what's wrong with Togo. Charles then thinks about all the robbers and aspens and wonders if the girl really didn't even think about it. The young lady then asks why he is doing this, and the Emperor replies that he has nothing and has no right to stop her. Scarlet then asks if he will return to the hotel, and the guy replies that she said that she wanted to take a walk. A little time later, they are already riding a horse, and the main character wrapped in a guy's cloak thinks that this is too awkward. Well, she still doesn't understand why he decided to take a walk, and isn't he awkward with her? However, looking at the Emperor's face, she thinks that his father doesn't care, after which she realizes that she needs to come up with something to talk about. Then, the young lady claims that he said that he has something to do tomorrow and asks where he is going. The guy replies that he will go to Rashakel, and the main character understands that such a name was not in the novel. The Emperor claims that half a day will be enough, and he will leave at dawn and return in the afternoon if there are no deviations in the schedule. The young lady then realizes that Charles will be away for a while this morning on diplomatic matters. To be honest, she doesn't like it when the guy is away because he doesn't ask for much. But when Charles ascended the throne, tyranny in other countries also became less, but the main character thinks why she was upset. But then the Emperor suddenly hears some noise and then tells the young lady to hold tight, and the main character agrees. But when the horse starts to run, the girl turns to His Majesty and realizes that she is falling, after which he immediately grabs the guy, which makes him a little surprised, and turns to the young lady, which, a little puzzled, replies that this is not what he was thinking about. Well, then we hear another rustle, and the young lady screams to His Majesty that there is something there and also grabs him even tighter and then screams. However, only a small pig and a young lady emerge from the bushes. He asks what it is. And is it really a wild boar? After which the young lady approaches him and claims that it was just a cute little boar. Answer, she thought that they had stumbled upon thieves. The young lady also asks if he isn't cute, and the Emperor thinks he doesn't think so, after which he says that Lady Armande is very relaxed even now. But when the girl asks what he is talking about, the guy tells her not to think about it, and the young lady thinks what it is. But then he realizes that he must be worried about the bandits, so it's not surprising that he behaves this way, but he took her with him for a walk, so he needs to cheer him up a little. The girl then turns to His Majesty and asks if he wields a sword, after which the girl takes out a curved sword and claims that she bought it for a lot of money, and also asks what His Majesty thinks of him. After all, this is a magic sword of self-defense, and she bought it with the money that the Duke gave her to spend on the trip. The girl also takes out the rest of her things and claims that this is a magic item that can light a fire, and this is a smoke bomb that can create a smoke screen. The Emperor just wonders where the hell she got all this from, and the young lady claims that she really wants to use these strange things, and even if it looks scary, they are not dangerous. Well then, the thing that her brother gave her falls out of her pocket. His Highness notices this and bends down to pick it up. Then he asks if this is also a magic item. The young lady then replies that this is a transmitter made of a magic stone, and you can simply notify someone who is far away. The girl understands that she did not buy it, and Ezar gave it to her in case she had to leave His Majesty. The guy at this time asks if the lady really needs such things. And the girl replies that, of course, and this is because she must be able to protect herself at least partially, even if His Majesty is not nearby. The girl understands that the main character in the novel is very harsh but incredibly kind to those he loves. The Emperor at this time answers well, and the young lady asks what he is talking about, and His Majesty claims that he is satisfied with this answer. The man claims that the boar's mother must be somewhere nearby and that she needs to leave because she will come soon, to which the young lady agrees. The girl understands that at least this night she was glad to feel like the main character of the novel. The guy at this time asks what she is doing, and the young lady understands that this is strange, but he sounded friendly, after which he is silent for a while and extends his hand in agreement with His Majesty. The girl understands whether this is because she covered his palm and it turned out to be not as cold as she thought, and this moment is like a dream from which you don't want to wake up. The next morning, Scarlet is already lying in bed and thinks that she is a little ticklish and then wonders who is next to her. The man then tells the young lady to wake up, and the girl thinks what kind of voice this is and is it really Charles? However, he only climbs onto the bed and claims that the girl did not even wake up and asks if she is looking for His Majesty. Or she was dreaming about him. At the same moment, knights run into the room and scream, asking if Lady Armand is okay. However, the assassin replies that it is too late, and if the life of this lady is dear to him, then he advises to retreat. At this time, there are also many mercenaries on the street, and one of the elders claims that there is no end to them. Then he asks where they all come from, but another elder then asks where Miss Scarlet is. The woman replies that she's probably still sleeping in her bed. Hey, the man then asks, why don't she protect her mark? Doesn't she know that the lady is helpless and cannot be left unprotected? However, the other elder then screams for him to go and help her himself. Well, then the mercenary comes out with the young lady and claims that they should not draw their blades, after which he says that everyone should put their weapons on the ground, and no joke because their commanders have already obeyed. The man then apologizes to Lady Armand but asks what happened to Charles, and the commander replies that he left for Rochelle at dawn and will not return soon. The mercenary then asks what this guy is talking about because he is disappointed, and the main character thinks that they are acting as if they are waiting for Charles, but then the girl thinks if this is one of the assassins they saw yesterday, after which she asks what they need, and have they really come to plunge her into eternal sleep? And the guy then asks what he will get from the fact that he will plunge the noble lady into eternal sleep, and then claims that this will not happen if she listens to him. And the main character thinks, is it really not all for the sake of plunging her into eternal sleep? The assassin then claims that she may suffer a little, but overall, everything will be fine, and the girl understands that due to the fact that she was attacked unexpectedly, she did not have time to take anything with her, and she only has a magical object with her that transmits information, so now the young lady breaks it and realizes that she never thought that she would use it like that. After this, a bird flies towards Ezar. She also flies near the place where His Majesty is, and he looks at this bird in surprise. The blonde then turns to the Emperor and asks what's wrong with him, and the man only says that Count Lumen should check the garden. The guy then asks why all of a sudden the Emperor replies that he feels familiar magic. At this time, the young lady just screams. The assassin then apologizes and asks if she hurt herself, after which he claims that it is cold outside, so they will wait there. The guy also turns to another assassin and claims that he would tell the guys to take all the money they can find in karate, to which he agrees. One of the elders then asks if Miss is okay, and the girl replies that she seems to be. The woman then turns to the young lady and tells her not to lose her activity because they are not like ordinary bandits, especially their leader. The main character when she looks at this man and thinks, who the hell is he? After which the girl also turns to the elders and asks if they know about the assassins. The man then asks how the young lady knows about them, and the girl replies that His Majesty told her yesterday, and their fighting style is similar to the Pan assassins. The man is a little surprised after this and says that this cannot be. These assassins are not so famous, and many years ago, their family disappeared. Together with the head of Armanov, whose traditions were not recognized, those who know what traditions Armand destroyed, and the man is now asking if they can be the Armand's subordinates. The head of the assassins then says that this is impressive, and the old man quickly noticed this. After which the young man with red hair claims that sometimes it is better to pretend that he is not in the know. Then the guy lifts the old man by the collar and says that it's just like. Now the young man also says that the lady should be taken to another place, and one of them says that he understands. The main character then asks what they are doing because Mr. Bryan has nothing to do with it. The young man with red hair replies that, yes, and he has nothing to do with it, so his immersion in eternal sleep will not affect anything. And the main character understands that he meant that he does not care about Sir Bryan, so why not plunge him into eternal sleep? Then the girl screams for them to stop immediately because they need her and she will give them what they need, but let them not touch others. The guy then asks what she is talking about, and the girl replies that if they want, they can put her into eternal sleep right now. Scarlet also thinks they want her life. Well, she also thinks that whatever the reason they need her alive. However, if she was wrong, she would be in big trouble. And the young man with red hair just looks at her, and the girl understands that this will be a rejection of the Duke's request. The blonde then claims that she immediately realized that she was their target, and then realizes that now she needs to somehow distract this guy. Scarlet claims that obviously attacking her while His Majesty is away was their goal, but then the young lady asks what they will do with her without. However, at the same moment someone screams, "Is it really His Majesty?" And the main character understands that she needs to act now. The girl cuts the thread using the remains of the bird and immediately breaks in. The young man with red hair then screams out what they are doing and says to grab the girl, but the young lady then just pulls out her sword, and he puts it to his throat. When the young lady looks at the young man with red hair, she asks what kind of expression he has on his face, and he looks like he has never been in such situations before. The leader of the assassins then says that enough jokes, and it is unacceptable for a well-mannered young lady to hold a blade in her hands. And the girl then asks if this means that he doesn't like this situation. The girl also understands that there is only one way to resolve everything, and she only hopes that Charles will not be late, after which the young lady says that she will see idiots in the next world. But then someone stops her. The young lady turns around and wonders if it's His Majesty. The girl then turns to him and says that he returned so quickly, and the guy only claims that they will talk later. After all, first he will deal with the assassins, after which the Emperor also turns to Count Lumen and tells him to take the young lady, to which the guy agrees. The blonde then proposes to Lady Armand to leave, but the young lady tells him to wait a minute, after which the girl looks at how the operator takes out the worn ball and then tells them not to worry. His Majesty also tells the lady to close her eyes and not look or listen. It's about how they will look. There won't be anything fun. In an instant, everything quickly ended, and although a little earlier than expected, they quickly moved on. The girl also thinks about Lord Benzer, who could not protect her, and thinks that fortunately, after her many persistent persuasions, he escaped cruel punishment. Instead, after the end of the trip, he would go to the reclaimed territory near the border, and in the process, not only the knights, but she herself would become closer to the tyrant's assistance. The blonde at this time asks how Lady Armand did this because she so easily persuaded His Majesty, and the girl is amazing. Scarlet then asks if it is easy, and then claims that it was very difficult to follow him for 3 days and 3 nights. The Knight Commander then turns to Lady Armand and thanks her, after which he swears that he is repaying her for her kindness. The main character replies that she will remember, and it will cost him dearly, after which the man replies that of course, and the blonde says that the girl is very noble, unlike many others. The main character then thinks that these guys are simpler than they seem, because even if she speaks with sarcasm, and even if she behaves rudely, they smile. Count Lumen, who constantly cries, is no longer a blonde poser because he is complimented by a wet blonde squid. With his wet eyes, he is no different from a knight commander. After that, the guys continued to talk about things that she didn't ask about, and the chatty knight commanders and the head of intelligence turned out to be quite good guys. When they get out of the carriage, one of the guys hands the young lady a cape and says that he walks around at night quite coldly, and she doesn't have a cape. The main character then thanks, but then looks at the woman and realizes that she continued to glance at her and behaved strangely. This woman constantly talked about how she remembered the late Duke when she looked at her, and even the muttering Brian was also annoying. The tyrant has also changed and is now addressing the young lady. Then he asks how she feels. The girl replies that she is fine and is a little tired from riding in the carriage, after which the young man invites her to take a walk. The girl asks if he really wants to take a walk with her, and the Emperor replies that of course she is the only young lady here. Onona and the heroine then wonder if he really likes laughing at her, but every day he becomes more and more playful. Scarlet replies that it's not funny at all, but then thinks that after a bunch of events and turns, they are there. The young lady arrived in the problem area that the elders and this territory Adrian were talking about, namely the Forest of Monsters. The Armand family and their elders are the place that determines their destiny. The girl brought the tyrant there because she had ulterior motives, and if he finds out about the problems of the elders, then in the worst case, they will turn to him for help. But discussing the affairs of the magical forest with Duke Armand is not an easy task, and as usual, no clear answer. The Emperor at this time feels something and claims that it seems they are close. The man also asks what is happening and how the Armands defended the perimeter. After this, the woman only remains silent and then claims that she will tell His Majesty everything from the very beginning. When they already tell the story, they say that they have no excuse and sincerely ask for forgiveness. The emperor then says that it's okay and he didn't believe in them from the very beginning. And the girl then turns to His Majesty and invites him to first go into the forest. One of the knights then asks if Lady Armand came there, not to recuperate, but the young lady notes that this is so. But nevertheless, the forest is under the jurisdiction of the Armands, and she is also there to make sure how things are going. But when the girl is already going into the forest, the commander of the knights asks if the lady understands that this is a dangerous zone and they cannot just enter there. The young lady notes that of course they will just be close to the border, and it is not necessary to accompany them because they and His Majesty want to go only together. Well then, one of the elders turns to Lady Scarlet and asks if she must enter the forest. The girl replies that she would like to personally verify everything and the reason why the forest is in such disorder, after which they say that the girl can do as she wishes. And the emperor then claims that moreover, he himself had been thinking for a long time about going there, after which he tells the knight that there is no need to worry about the safety of the lady, because as long as he is next to him, nothing will happen, and for that matter, he represents the main threat to the lady. After which the two of them head into the forest. And the guy answers yes and then offers to move forward. Then the young lady comes in and thinks that she should take a look, because if they turn left from the entrance they will come across a dead tree. And the emperor then turns to the lady and asks if she has really been there. The girl then replies that no, and even the elders cannot enter there, and His Majesty claims that for a person who is there for the first time, she is very confident in leading him. The main character then realizes that she was there in a dream, after which she only says that she just really likes adventures, so she fearlessly rushed forward. But the guy then tells her not to go too far because it's impossible to predict where the demon might come from, and the girl then agrees, after which she walks a little more and realizes that they are there. The young lady then turns to His Majesty and tells him to take a look at it, but the guy only claims that he asked not to go far from him. However, then he looks at the young lady and is a little surprised. Scarlet just tells him to come to her quickly. And the guy understands that this is the place that the lady stumbled upon, and it was dotted with ancient golden flowers that, according to legend, attracted demons. A little time later, the knights are already examining the flower and saying that this flower is so rare. The other knight replies that it is not that rare, because this plant is known to the world as existing only in legends, and that is exactly what he thought. Well then, he turns to Lady Armand and asks where she got it from. The guy talks about the slime in the hands of the young lady. Scarlet just asks if he's talking about this spirit and then asks if he's really cute, and she found him in the forest and decided to keep him as a pet. A young man with blonde hair claims that this is not a spirit, but a slime Geppetto, known as a predator that eats demons. The young lady realizes that the head of intelligence had knowledge of ancient plants and creatures. The main character then turns to the emperor, and the guy claims that even if he is harmless to humans, he cannot be kept, and the purpose of the Saima is to scare away demons in the forest. The main character understands that the same applies to the tyrant, because he was also wise. Initially, everyone was slightly depressed by the honest attempts, but soon the ice broke. And samples of all flowers were taken, and the soil and Geppetto mucus on the site were also examined. Of course, as soon as preparations for the research are completed, everything will be burned there, and it was decided that this research will be carried out jointly by Armin Gazus and Count Rumen. Therefore, the young lady thinks that there will be no problems and everything will be fine. And now the young lady is holding a crystal ball in her hands and asking if she can really accept this. After all, he needs it more because they will somehow need to contact the laboratory to receive reports. But the elders then only bow and say that this is nothing compared to the kindness of the young lady. Adrian claims that this is true and the girl is their benefactor, so if she needs anything, let her know. After all, they will make every effort to help her. The main character then smiles and says that in that case, let them promise her that they will take care of her friend and Ezar and also protect them if they are in danger. The elders then look at each other and then agree and say that they will fulfill her request, and they also swear by the names of Armin's vassals, after which the main character with a smile on her face claims that she relies on them. Thus, the mission was completed successfully. And a little time later, the girl already says goodbye to the elders and wishes them all the best, and also claims that when the situation is resolved, she will come to stay in the spring. The girl understands that she will continue to maintain contact with the elders, and it seems the Duke will try to put her into eternal sleep, so she understands that it is good to have supporters. When the girl looks out the window, the blonde suddenly turns to her and asks if she would like to sit down because His Majesty would like to talk. The main character then does so, and then asks what he wants to talk about, and the guy replies that he wants to talk about the assassins who targeted her. The girl then thinks about it and realizes that Charles and Count Ruman conducted an investigation into unknown persons who threatened her life throughout the trip, and one of the detainees, after an unsuccessful escape attempt, confessed to several things under the pressure of Charles's threats. The continuation of the story, which Count Ruman voiced carefully, choosing his words, presented facts that made the blood run cold. And now the young lady understands that immediately upon her return, she will need to think about how to get rid of the Duke. And although the reason is still unclear, the Duke's actions have clearly gone to hell. The blonde at this time turns to Lady Armand and asks if she's okay, to which the girl replies, yes. She understands what's going on before that. She needs to check on the fairies Ezar. At this time, only waters flowers and trees. He thinks about Scarlet and realizes that this girl makes life difficult in many ways. Therefore, the young man also wonders when the hell she will grow up and why she decided to grow fruit trees here. Damn, she was wondering what to kiss me in general, and also thinks that since she planted everything with fruit trees, then fairies will take it and appear. The main character at this time understands that if her memory serves her now, the time has come when the tyrant, following in the footsteps of the dark magicians, plunges into the eternal sleep of the main character's boyfriend, and the young lady thinks that maybe he has already tried to put him into eternal sleep. The blonde then turns to the Seer and asks when he is going to hold the next negotiations related to Rachel, and the man replies that he has dealt with urgent matters so it can be rescheduled. The main character then asks if they haven't already been there, if they are talking about Rachel, and the man then asks if the lady also knows something about him. The girl replies that no, and she only heard it briefly, and the blonde claims that this is quite possible because Rachel is a closed and currently disappeared family. The main character then asks if this is family, and claims that she thought that was the name of the place. The blonde claims that in Calor, this place is still called Rachel, so he thinks that this is why many citizens of the Empire know this name, and of course now a new kingdom has been founded there. The young lady then realizes that information unknown to her about the three oldest families on the continent has gradually begun to leak out Calor, Rachel, and Armand, and also about their founders and what rumors say among them. Calor, who was Charles's ancestor, was the god of the winter winds who fell into eternal sleep. The young lady then asks if God has really fallen into eternal sleep, and in response, she hears that this means that he has become a man. In particular, this god was the supreme god with unimaginable power and the ability to cross dimensions. The young lady then asks if Armand and Rachel were also gods, and the guy replies that this is true and the founders of these families were also gods who plunged into eternal sleep. The progenitor of the Armand family was the god of prophets and travelers who plunged into eternal sleep. And the Rachel family was founded by the goddess Clover. The main character then asks if this is so, but then it means that the advisor bears the name of the goddess. And the blonde replies that the advisor's name is most likely his real one, and the young lady then asks what his real name is then. And the guy replies that he is not sure, and he himself is not aware of this, but in general he suggests returning to the main conversation, after which he claims that among them, the first clan to endure was Rachel, and so thoroughly that about 20 years ago the territory of the feud was erased from the map piece. The girl says that if we are talking about events 20 years ago, it means it happened somewhere around the time she was born. The guy replies that this is true, but because little was known about this family, it is almost impossible to find those who inherited them, but on the other hand, the witchcraft imposed was so cruel that there were rumors that it was the work of a dark magician. The main character then thinks, is there really no way to figure out the successor of the Rachel family? And the guy replies that he doesn't even know, and if you give the most common features, then all family members had blonde hair and ruby-colored eyes. The young lady says that this is not the information that will help in the search, and besides, even she has blonde hair and ruby eyes. His Majesty is looking out the window at this time, but then suddenly the carriage stops. The Emperor then looks out and asks what happened, and the coachman then turns to His Majesty, and he claims that there is an unconscious person lying in the path of the carriage. The main character also goes outside and asks if there is some problem with the carriage. But then in shock, he asks why a small child is lying in such a place, after which the young lady also approaches this baby and asks if he is okay and if he can breathe. The guy then turns a little surprised to the young lady and grabs her by the cape. He asks if there are still survivors. The young lady then thinks about what he is talking about and then turns to the boy and tells him to calm down first and also asks where his parents are and what his name is. The guy then replies that his name is Mashiur, and then he loses consciousness again. The Emperor then approaches the young lady and claims that this boy has grabbed hold of life, so there is no need to worry because it looks like he lost consciousness from the fact that the tension has gone away. And the main character replies that it is clear, but then he thinks that this boy has blonde hair, ruby eyes, and also this name, and it was because of this boy that Shirla gnashed her teeth in anger in the original work Mashiur's appearance on stage, who in the original work was Shirla's former lover and met his end at the hands of the tyrant. So we can say that Shirla and the tyrant's relationship began with the breakup of a previous relationship for the sake of revenge. The Emperor at this time claims that if we are talking about Mashiur, then as far as he knows, this is a family that disappeared some time ago, and that means there are survivors. The main thing is then thinking, didn't the guy offer his hand to the downfall of this family? And the Emperor claims that they were destroyed by witchcraft and the place looked the same as in the case of the Rashikal family. The blonde at this time turns to His Majesty and says that the disclosure of information about the fall of the Mashiur family. However, His Majesty interrupts the guy and says that this boy is not an ordinary child. The main character then thinks about what he is talking about, and the man claims that the Mashiur couple had only one son, and he suffered from an illness that did not allow him to grow. And it is impossible for such a small child to be born into a family that has already plunged into eternal sleep. Therefore, in other words, he is clearly the successor of the Mashiur family, and this year he will turn 20. That is, the girl is the same age as him, and this is the age when you can become the head of the family. After much thought, it was decided to leave the guy in the care of the elders because the girl understands that where someone is trying to plunge her into eternal sleep, she will not be able to protect anyone. At this time, the Duke knocks on the table and asks where that girl hid the certificate of the head of the family. But despite the fact that he is the head of the family, he is not allowed to enter the castle of the owner of the feud without permission. And since he did not have the certificate in his hands, the owner of the castle was still the previous duke. The man is now sure that the certificate is in the hands of the young woman. He doesn't understand why he can't find it, but in childhood he could have intimidated her, but now it won't work because she's already 20 years old. And if this girl presents a certificate, then she has deep roots. The Armand family will choose this maiden as their next head, which is the continuation of the family tree through the legitimate son of the family. A short time later, the young lady stretches out and realizes that she has finally returned home. And although due to several incidents, she was a little delayed, the Emperor at this time turns to the young league and tells her to go inside, and the young lady then asks what he is talking about, and wasn't the man going to look into the ducal residence before leaving? But the Emperor claims that he needs to give some orders to the knights, and as soon as he finishes with this, he will immediately catch up with her. The girl then understands that it's even better this way because no one knows what will happen again. I should go first and also check the situation, after which the girl says that then she will go and check on her family, and the young lady also says that they can take their time. The Emperor and the Knight then exchange glances, and the blonde asks His Majesty if he is really going to establish surveillance of the ducal residence. After all, as he himself knows, Armanov is surrounded by a powerful magical barrier, and even if this is the imperial house itself, he is not able to destroy the magic of ancient families, and in the end, the only way is to directly turn to family members for help. The Emperor then replies that he knows and will settle the matter himself, and the guy will prepare the crystal ball as ordered. But the man also realizes that his sword resonates at this time, and you are in the mansion. Someone is telling everyone to go out to the lobby because Mrs. Scarlet is back. And the main character at this time, with a smile on her face, says that she hasn't seen them all for a long time, and then asks if everything was fine in her absence. Lucy then runs up to the mistress, and the girl then asks how she is doing and what the maid was doing while she was away, and also whether she got bored without her. However, the woman then says that something else is more important now. At the same moment, someone shouts for the servants to get out of the way. It turns out that it is the Duke, and the butler is trying to calm him down and says that his lordship cannot behave like that, and everyone outside is guests from the imperial house, so he must keep his face. But the man just bursts in and asks if the butler is going to let him go and how dare he touch his body. The main character then thinks why the Duke is so impulsive. And the man just looks furiously at the young lady, after which she asks what she did. But the man just hits her in the face and then says that she is a useless idiot and screams if she knows what damage he suffered because of her, and it would be better if she went to this forest of monsters or something like that and never came back. Then the young lady's brother, covered in bruises, also runs up the stairs and asks what the hell got into his father and also what he did, Scarlet. Then someone else comes into the room and claims that he is also curious to know. It turns out that this is the Emperor, and when he approaches the Duke, he asks what he was thinking about when he decided to raise his hand on his bride right in front of his eyes. The Duke then gets a little scared and turns to His Majesty, trying to justify himself, but the man then asks, "Is this nothing more than disdain for the Emperor?" But he doesn't remember leaving alive someone who tried to get over his head. But the Duke has been hiding well like a worm until now. A man, when he cries out to His Majesty that he has committed an act worthy of plunging into eternal sleep, after which he immediately bows to the floor. The main character then wonders if Charles is now really angry because of her, but for several days she tried in every possible way to bore him, but maybe now he actually hates her. The Duke at this time still addresses His Majesty and claims that he was in no way trying to show disdain towards him, and this is a succubus family issue, that is, how could he dare to touch His Majesty's bride? The Emperor then says that the Duke always sits within the four walls of his house, and it's time for him to do something, but Miss Scarlet must be tired. So this time he will close his eyes to what happened, because it will be too difficult for her to prepare for the Duke's funeral right now. After which the man turns to the maid and tells her to take care of Miss Scarlet, and he will wait outside, but the maid agrees. After which, she just looks furiously at the Duke and asks if the lady is okay. However, the main character then only laughs and understands that it looks like the Duke was seriously scared, and in what a pitiful light he appeared before the servants whom he had so ignored. So the young lady says what a shame. Lucy then turns to Mistress Scarlet, and the girl then apologizes and offers to go up. The young lady understands that at the sight of this spectacle, the employees of the Arman family were overcome by a strange feeling of delight. The maid at this time turns to the mistress and tells her to turn her head properly in her direction. After which, the young lady does so and realizes that at the same time, there was anger in the air, especially for those who were close to Scarlet. The young lady also asks if the maid saw the Duke because he turned pale as if lifeless and was about to cry. However, Lucy does not respond to this, and the girl understands that the Duke hurting Scarlet is a scene that angers Lucy every time she sees the girl, no matter how many times she has witnessed such an action. The young lady then says that she brought a gift for the maid from this trip, and the girl then asks if the gift is for her. But the main character does not answer that yes, and she cannot give it to her right now, but someday it may turn out to be a great help for her future. After which, the young lady also claims that at her destination, she also bought popular local desserts, so she offers to try them together. The maid then replies that she doesn't even know what to say to this, but thanks the young lady. The main character then asks why she is thanking her, and also understands that now Scarlet once again thought that she did the right thing by deciding to protect Lucy and Ezar. And after all, Lucy is for Scarlet. He is the world's dearest friend. A short time later, the young lady is already turning to His Majesty, and when she sees him on the street, she says that what a relief, because she was worried that he had already left. Scarlet also apologizes and says that she was a little late, and His Majesty just looks at her and then says that the girl has finally arrived and asks if her cheek is okay. Scarlet answers that this is not the case when you need to stay in bed, and the guy replies that that's good, and then they'll move on to the next item on the schedule. The young lady then understands that she will need to keep the Duke under control for some time, and soon the time will come in the safe zone when the fairies will be born, so she's wondering if she should take a short break for now. The girl claims that she would like to rest for 1 month but asks what he thinks about postponing everything until later. And the girl also claims that she took a whole week from him to travel. This month will be enough to get back on track, and he will restore his schedule just like that. The young lady also thinks about Glen Mashiur, and if Shirley's reason to take revenge on the tyrant disappears, then the original plot will not begin at all, and the girl thinks whether this is true. But she needs to think about this situation too. But the Emperor is now asking if she says that she will meet him in a month. And the young lady wonders what kind of unhappy expression he has on his face now, after which the young man just turns around and says that okay, and then they will see each other, to which the young lady answers yes. But then she thinks what's wrong again, and also whether she made some kind of mistake, but she just can't understand what the problem is. So being in a bad mood, the tyrant left the Armand ducal residence. The elder writes a little later whether Miss Scarlet has recovered, and also writes that she and Brian are doing well, and the exploration of the monster forest is also progressing without a hitch, and they are also trying their best to put the boy on his feet whom she left in their care, and if he's lucky, he might wake up soon. But as soon as he comes to his senses, she will immediately inform the young lady about this. The woman also understands that the Mashiur family fell at the hands of the Emperor, but it turns out that everything was not like that at all. But if there are many such false rumors about the Emperor, then perhaps there will be no need to so zealously oppose the engagement of their benefactor Scarlet. But as soon as this poor young man wakes up, they will be able to find the answer to this question. Meanwhile, Scarlet is in the garden and thinks that the trees have finally bear fruit. The girl, after a very long time, dedicated the safe zone and now claims that in her absence, it seems that Ezar took good care of this place. So now all that remains is to wait for the fairies to appear. Well then, the girl touches one fruit and asks what it is and whether a parasite has already begun to gnaw at her raft. Well then, the young lady suddenly sees a small creature and wonders if it is a fairy. But you can just look at what a little thing this is because she speaks and moves just like a doll. The kid then asks if the person is angry and the young lady replies that it's nothing like that. Well, he also wonders if these are the same fairies that appeared in the original work, because in the novel it was said that they were servants of the devil and looked like a thin, hungry young man. Therefore now the girl turns to the baby and asks if there are other fairies there, except him. The guy then just waves his hands and says that these are his friends, and the young lady understands that if we are talking about friends, then they are exactly the same fairies as him, after which the young lady says that it's clear, after which he asks if he can know what a fairy stone is, but the fairy only asks if it is something edible. And the main character realizes that she screwed up, after which the kid says that she's really angry after all, and the girl replies that she's not. Well, she thinks that this is a curse, and has she really miscalculated the place or confused the time of birth of the fairies? But in this situation, she simply threw money away and received nothing in the end. After which the girl also turns to the fairy and asks if he is really hungry. The young lady also understands that she cannot ignore the fact that the baby is hungry. After which it sees other rivers and turning to them tells them to go there too, because she will give them fruit. Then the young lady asks what their names are, but the fairies answer that they don't know, and the young ladies ask if it's because they don't have a name. Scarlet also understands that these are clearly not Shirley's fairies because they definitely had names, and in order to at least a little dispel the disappointment, maybe it's worth giving these kids names. After which the young lady turns to the baby in the blue cap and claims that he will be the path. The red one will be called Belle and the golden one Brooke. The young lady also thinks that so be it. and he wonders if they are to blame for something, after which she says that the kids should not quarrel and there is a lot of fruit there, so let them eat in peace, to which they agree. And the main character understands that even if she goes to the village without a stone, Fido will be able to feed herself by selling the property left by her mother. But when the girl looks into the box, she asks what kind of nonsense, after all, only crumbs were left from her mother's inheritance, after which she asks why the wind came out like that. She definitely spent her money sparingly, but the sick leave asks if Mrs. Thrifty calls this a waste. And the girl just tells Lucy that this is very funny and claims that now, even if she ends up in the village, she will be a beggar. The girl understands that she completely relied on the fairies, but since everything turned out this way, she entered no matter what she must find a way to earn money, after which the young lady also goes out onto the balcony and thinks why the room is so stuffy. But when the girl looks at the street, she thinks that this woman is a duchess. And then the young lady turns to the maid and asks if the Duchess has gone somewhere. The girl replies that it seems she was at a meeting on the effective management of the guild, and apparently they were talking about opening a new trade route. After all, Madame was an entrepreneur before becoming a duchess. The young lady then thinks how she could get it out of her head, after which she turns to Lucy and says that she will get it out for a while. And the maid asks where the lady is going, and the young lady then affirms that she needed to greet the Duchess. The girl understands that, frankly, if the engagement to the tyrant breaks off, then her independent life will become a foregone conclusion. And after this, the question arises whether to live richly squandering the remains of her property or to drown in poverty. But the girl also understands that having completely placed all her hopes on the fairy stone, she completely squandered her mother's inheritance and now thinks about it and understands how stupid she acted. Well, at the moment, when everything has turned out this way, there is only one thing left. The Duchess at this time claims that she was told that the girl was looking for her, after which the woman asks if she is really going to beg for money, and the young lady replies that it's nothing like that. And she understands that she just wants to learn how to earn her own needs, after which she claims that she needs advice from the Duchess. The woman then replies that she does not understand what she means, and she doesn't think that they are in such a relationship to share this kind of conversation, and the main character only asks if this is really so, and understands that based on her relationship with Ezar, at least in the sense that she has never taken such stupid steps as, for example, attempts to put her into eternal sleep. Then she came to the conclusion that the Duchess is a person with whom she can, to some extent, have a constructive dialogue. And then the young lady claims that she knows that the Duchess does not like her, but at the same time she is extremely competent, and therefore does not try to plunge her into eternal sleep. Scarlet understands that she has never talked to a woman in such an open form, so we can say that this is the first time she has hinted that she knows her past. And now the girl says that, as far as she is concerned, she agrees with the woman that she cannot stand this family. Therefore, one day she wants to break off relations with the Duke. The brunette then says that it is a mistake for the young lady to talk to her about such topics. And Scarlet then asks if Mrs. Words mean that she shouldn't reveal her true feelings. But she is the only person who can give her such advice. And the woman then asks what the young lady wants. The girl understands that she cannot forever rely on her memories of the original plot, and she does not know either the economy or the social structure of the empire, and in general has no idea what fashion trends are now popular among the nobles. In fact, there is a real world out there about which she knows nothing, and about which it is impossible to fully learn simply by reading a novel. Therefore, now the girl claims that she wants to learn from her again how to conduct business, as well as the basic etiquette and knowledge that a nobleman should have. The woman claims that if a girl at that age needs an etiquette teacher, she will introduce him to her. But the young lady claims that she is not talking about simple rules of etiquette. And it was about something like her noble dignity when she looks with contempt at petty behavior and encourages direct violence, after which the young lady asks if anything else needs to be added. And she says that in general she wants to study these kinds of practical aspects. The girl also thinks that the woman should teach her how to survive alone in this world. Scarlet also claims that, of course, she would like to know more about the introduction of trade affairs, and it is clear that Miss comes from the nobility and had strong family support behind her. But still, the young lady says that the reason why she managed to simply maintain her position, even in such a tough family as our men, the truth is that she founded a trade guild and is the mistress of her own life. The woman then replies that this is just funny, and if the girl understood what she wanted to learn, she would have mastered everything herself. I wouldn't engage in teasing others. And she thinks that there is no need to continue the conversation, so she will leave first. The main character then tells the woman to wait, and if she is angry because of her behavior, then let him reproach her with at least a word, because she can do such a little. And perhaps she won't believe her, but the girl considers her an outstanding person, and although their relationship leaves much to be desired if the woman respects her as a person and considers that these words make sense, then she will listen to her in everything. Scarlet also claims that it would be great if Madame would stop being so prickly with her. After all, in reality, she is not the one on whom a woman wants to take out her anger, and this person is Duke Armand. The young lady then realizes that she knew that her guesses were correct, and after all, a woman hates her husband to the depths of her soul. It cannot be otherwise. Because in pursuit of power, he married the wife of the previous duke and kept her with him as a concubine. Scarlet then says that if the woman helps her, she will definitely give the Duke a full drink of water. The brunette then turns to the young lady, but he asks what she intends to do, and the girl replies that the woman should watch carefully because she will pay off the bills with him properly. Thus was concluded her temporary alliance with the Duchess. A short time later, the maid asks if this means that the lady went to the Duchess, and the young lady replies that yes, and she calmly accepted her offer. Lucy then says that the lady has nerves of steel, but she also claims that she still has a question, and the young lady asks what it is, and the maid asks why the lady suddenly decided to visit Grazioso. The girl then wonders if she is asking what the reason for visiting the temple is, and she claims that she just wants to show how much of a devout believer she is. Recently, two forces clashed violently in the empire. Imperial family of Calor, and the Temple of Grazioso. Actually, up until the previous reign, the owner of the empire was the temple, not the imperial family. However, with the coming to power of Charles, who killed the entire imperial family and took the throne at a young age, power was divided in two. As soon as the guy ascended the throne, he began to threaten the temple that had insulted him with false prophecies. Since this was originally a corrupt group, he completely broke the money chain to stop them from doing their dirty deeds behind the scenes. Thanks to his actions, peace reigned uniquely in the security of the capital, but his method of solving problems actually secured the sword of a tyrant to him. In general, if in such a situation she shows deep devotion to the temple, which is the enemy of the imperial house, then wouldn't this put her as the emperor's bride in a difficult position? The maid at this time looks at the box and asks if this is not the necklace that was given to her for her 17th birthday, and let the girl not say that she is going to donate such a valuable thing to the temple. The main character replies that she doesn't care and that in any case it is of no value to her. And the temple will obviously like her offering because she heard that the nobles have stopped all financial support, and for worrying about the imperial palace and the young lady, she asks if in such a situation they would not want to get something profitable. Scarlet understands that she doesn't like all this because it's about the temple, but for the sake of breaking off the engagement, it's not the right time to weigh what's good and what's bad, after which the girl heads to the temple. One of the accomplices then says that let the light gracefully dwell in the believers and then greets his sister. The main character then answers hallelujah, and the maid thinks in her thoughts that the mistress should have said amen. The man at this time tells the sister to go again. He will take her to the chapel, and the girl replies that no, and let him not take her to the chapel and to the altar. The man then looks at the girl a little surprised and asks if she really came to share God's grace. The young lady thinks that just look at it and what did she say because she said that they would really like her gift. The man then apologizes for not immediately recognizing her intention and tells the girl to wait a little because he will check the altar and return. The main character notes that they will wait. The girl also understands that the altar is in the center of the temple. And we are talking about a multifunctional hall, and where the high priest preaches the word of God and also openly welcomes guests, and they conduct various temple rituals. Donations from nobles also came there, and since there is open space in all directions, it is ideal for demonstrating your religious beliefs. And in this gesture, there are hidden words about who donated how much. At this time, someone says that the sister should pass quickly, and the young lady then understands that the temple is visible in full view. At this time, one of the priests approaches her and greets the lady in the temple of Grazioso. Scarlet understands that if you say the word money, you can easily meet the high priest. The man at this time claims that he heard that the girl came to the altar to make a donation, after which he puts his hand and asks the young lady to place the donation box to the temple in that box. Scarlet then realizes that it is completely empty and then asks if she can pray. However, the man only asks if it is worth skipping the prayer, and the young lady then asks what he is talking about. However, the high priest asks the girl if she thinks that this empty box needs prayer now. And the main character then understands that she only has to look at him because the priest openly tells her to turn out her pockets, but then the young lady orders Lucy to open the box and so obeys her mistress. The girl understands that since she decided to make donations, she must do it with her own hands. Then the girl claims that she will make a donation for the prosperity of the temple. However, then the young lady sees something and is a little surprised. She realizes that this is a drawing of a black hyena. And the maid then turns to the mistress and asks what's wrong with her. The girl only replies that she suddenly remembered something. Well, then he thinks that this is all a little strange, and also doesn't anyone see this clearly drawn image? But even if they see, they still won't understand what's what. After all, this is a new symbol of the dark magicians and aptly called the constellation Ricos. Well, the girl thinks why the new mark of the dark magicians is depicted on the temple donation box. After which she looks at the priest, who only asks what's wrong with her sister and that she shouldn't stand idle and rather make a donation. However, the main character tells him to wait and understands that everything is just confusing, but she refuses to get involved with the dark sorcerers. The girl then turns to Lucy and tells her to take her things because they are returning to the carriage. The priest then does not understand what is happening. Then he turns to Lady Armand and asks how she can just turn around and leave, standing in front of the altar. And the young lady claims that it's a pity that Grazioso doesn't take her wealth, and this is truly a sad thing, but what can be done if this is God's providence? After which the girl claims that she dares to leave them because she needs to rush to a scheduled meeting. The young lady then runs away, and the priest asks where she is going because she must share the glory with Grazioso. At this time, one of the priests also talks to Clover, and he asks, isn't this too much because how can they refuse to even provide funds for humanitarian assistance? The young man with green hair replies that in the jurisdiction of the temple, there are no areas requiring humanitarian assistance, and this is the order of His Majesty. He gave him the order, so he dares to take his leave. Well, then one of the priests screams for the advisor to wait. However, then the main character also cries out why they are following her. And the man hearing this voice is a little surprised. After all, he understands that Lady Scarlet is there. The girl at this time claims that this is extortion and robbery, and then asks if he even understands what he is doing. But the man claims that she brought it to make a donation. Then someone turns to Counselor Clover, and the young man with green hair sees his colleagues there and asks if they are also busy with surveillance today. The young man replies with quick hair that this is an imperial order. Clover then says how timely they showed up because he was wondering what was going on there, and also whether something had happened to Lady Scarlet and why those individuals were following her. Charles's second confidant claims that the girl went to the altar to make a donation, but suddenly decided to leave without leaving a mark. And as he himself can see, the high priest became furious and some of the sacred ministers wanted to follow him. I don't even know what's wrong. The young man with green hair claims that even after their explanation he cannot understand, and then the girl even took a similar step. The brand replies that he too is at a loss. With red hair, he claims that he really has no idea what Lady Armand is doing. And how do those heavy-assed idiots protect the reputation of that bastard, even though they would immediately stick their heads in the sand if the ball was pointed at them? Clover claims that he still thinks that they should take action, so let them tell Lady Armand's coachman to drive up to the back entrance, and the young man with black hair agrees and then asks if Clover will report what happened to His Majesty. And the guy replies that of course, and the Emperor will really like it. The main character at this time understands that this is the end of the world and the apocalypse, but the world in which she will have to live in the future is terrible. Therefore, the girl thinks, can she ignore something like that, because despite the fact that the temple was a villain, it was still far from the new group of dark magicians, Drakara from the constellation Rikos that appeared later. The temple is a corrupt religion that is completely rotten and represents evil itself. Well, every evil has a different degree. And now the girl understands that she is holding in her hands evidence that these two groups are in the same boat, and this is real madness. At this time, someone turns to the young lady and asks if she has returned yet. The main character then turns around and sees that it is her brother, after which she asks if he was at home, and the guy wonders if he had to go somewhere, but in any case, he says that it's good that he met the girl because he was heading to her room anyway. The girl asks what he is talking about, and the guy claims that she received a message from the Imperial Palace. After this, the blonde is a little surprised and asks when it came, and there is still a lot of time before the next official event. The brunette then hands over this letter and claims that it was recently delivered, so let the girl hold it. Scarlet, he understands that after parting in the mansion, the Emperor acted as if he had no intention of getting in touch with her, so the young lady wonders what has come over him now. After which, she reads the lines from the letter and asks what it is. The girl also thinks why the manner of writing has become so friendly, because it even says that he is looking forward to their meeting. Scarlet understands that the Emperor's letter is saturated with sweet notes that have never been observed before, and when goosebumps begin to run through her body, the young lady thinks that this guy says that he wants to see each other before the planned official event, but he still doesn't understand why. At this time, Ezar turns to his sister and asks what is written there, and the girl only replies that he should wait a little. After all, you first need to read the contents of the letter yourself. Well, then the girl also notices Mother and asks if she has returned, but the woman asks why the two of them are there at this hour. The guy replies that he needed to give Scarlet something, and the main character understands that apparently the Duchess is extremely surprised that they communicate more closely than she thought. But there is nothing strange here, because even in the eyes of others, Scarlet and Ezar became too close too quickly. And the girl thinks that maybe it's worth tickling the Duchess's nerves a little, after which she takes the guy by the hand. And he says that apparently the Duchess had a lot of work and that she returned so late, but they said hello, so they will leave first because they and their brother need to discuss something in private. After which the young lady tells Ezar to come with her, and the woman in response to this is only surprised and asks what this means. A short time later, the guy asks if the young lady is saying that this is really a message sent by the Emperor. And the girl replies that yes, and Ezar claims that he does not know what kind of change has occurred in his heart, but shouldn't a girl as a bride be happy about this? However, he still asks why she is in such a depressed mood. Well, the young lady replies that it's none of his business. The girl understands that Charles must have heard about the commotion caused by her in the temple, but for some reason, instead of being ashamed of her, he became more friendly. And the young lady thinks that she does not understand the tyrant's train of thought at all, and she never expected that their meeting would take place so soon, so the girl thinks what she should do this time. And the guy claims that in any case the syllable with which this letter is written does not fit at all with the guy's face, and the young ladies ask what he is talking about. Ezar claims that it is as sharp as a bone-chilling cold wind, and he asks if this type is really his sister's taste. After this, the girl just grabs the boy's latch and he asks what came over her, but the young lady tells him not to move and sit still. Then he asks, is it really from Ezar's point of view? She's so beautiful. After this, the guy is only a little surprised and asks what kind of nonsense she's talking about. He then pushes the young lady away and tells the ugly girl to go away. Scarlet then asks what's wrong with him and whether he's fallen ill, and the girl also says that that's not the point. After all, he himself knows very well that she is not particularly modest and often cuts from the shoulder. Well, she also hands the guy a letter and tells him to look at it, because why, after all her similar actions, is His Majesty still so affectionate with her? But as expected now, she cannot help but admit that the whole point is in this magnificent appearance, but it cannot spoil such an ideal face. Therefore, the young lady asks what is best for her to do, and the guy just remains silent after that. And then he leaves the room, and then states that he thinks he should leave her. Scarlet asks if he's already leaving, but claims that it's not even 8 yet. The young man then says, let her too, give up these inventions and go to bed early, and the main character understands that. Of course, there is a high probability that this is not so, but has she really managed to catch the tyrant in her net? But if the guy really doesn't want to break off the engagement because of her beauty, what does it mean? Now all that's left is the face. Hey, the girl understands what she needs. Destroy all the Emperor's illusions about himself. So time passed, and the day of the appointed meeting arrived. A short time later, the girl claims that she plans to meet His Majesty today at the Imperial Palace for lunch, and thinks that they understand how important this day is for the one who is his bride. Therefore, the main character tells the maids to quickly begin preparations. Well, then the young lady also notices the new maid and asks who she is because this is the first time she has seen her. The girl with red hair claims to be Nancy, and she has also been working at the mansion for about a year. Scarlet then apologizes and says that anyway, she asks them to make her up as beautiful as possible today. Lucy replies that they will do their best, and the young lady says that she won't have to try too hard because she has ideal beauty by nature. Well, of course then she answers that she will do everything possible. And the main character understands that, if possible, she should strive for a more dramatic effect, and if at first she appears in all her splendor and then spoils this appearance, then his illusions regarding her will be shattered to smithereens. The maid at this time turns to the mistress and asks what dress she will wear, and the girl replies that she doesn't even know and maybe the blue one they bought last time, but Lucy asks if they promised hot weather today. Well, the main character asks what's wrong with Togo because she's not really going to move today, and the maid claims that in such weather it's clearly too much to wear a dress made of thick fabric. The lady immediately with red hair then turns to Mrs. Scarlet, after which she hands her a dress and asks how she would like this option. The young lady then examines the dress, and the maid claims that she was trying to alter the dress that she told her to throw away the other day, and it seemed to her that it would suit the lady if she added a little gloss. And of course she is far from the level of atelier firmware, but she can slightly correct the details. The main character then asks if the maid told her that her name is Nancy, after which she grabs her hands and claims that she really likes this dress, and she had no idea that there was a maid nearby with such a sharp eye like hers. The girl also says that next time she invites her to go shopping with her and asks if the girl would mind. The lady with red hair then looks at Lucy and she just sighs, after which the maid agrees, and the main character replies that this is great, and then asks her to put this beauty on her. The young lady understands that Charles's imperial palace to which she was invited was so large and beautiful that it resembled an entire city. The large square in the center of the palace looks like it came straight out of a famous painting. To a five-colored fountain as beautiful as a lake, and now the young lady is standing in the garden, and at this time the emperor comes up to her and says that this time he is a little late. Then he asks if she is tired from the long wait. The girl replies that not at all, and she was looking around the garden, so she didn't notice at all how time had passed. But then she asks if he finished with all his work for today. The guy replies that you can say that. After which the young lady with a smile on her face asks what he plans to do now. Well, the young lady also thinks what kind of smell this is because there is some kind of iron smell in the air. The man at this time asks how long the girl intends to stand there as if lost, and then tells her to go there because he asked the pastry chef to prepare the best desserts for her. The guy also extends his hand and tells her to go quickly, to which the girl agrees. And she gives him her hand, but then she thinks whether she just thought it was quite possible and she hasn't even really slept lately. But then the young lady smells the smell again and realizes that she is sure that it is not the smell of iron from something else. After which the young lady turns to His Majesty and asks if he was injured. The guy asks what she is talking about, and the young lady just confirms that he smells a red liquid. The young lady understands that 4 first-class assassins snuck into the room while the emperor was sleeping, and it took only a few seconds to plunge them into eternal sleep without even letting the boys make a last utterance. Well, he thought, why did this have to happen today? Because today is the day of the meeting with that interesting girl, and he had to deal with the assassins from Pan. And this is a terrible place in which they even use pine trees. And now the result of cooperation between this place and the temple has unfolded before him. The guy also thinks that this is a little cruel and understands that this is something that he could not avoid, no matter how hard he tried. This is a spell cast using divine power. The young lady at this time turns to him and asks if he will say anything, because there is a clear smell of red liquid. But the guy then wonders what if, well, the main character at the same moment turns to him and tells him to let her see exactly where he got hurt, after which the girl also asks if he is there wounded, because he made an appointment with her, and what about the doctor, because if he hasn't been to him yet, then she herself will tell him about his wound. The Emperor then asks if the young lady is now worried about him. The young lady also asks if there could be something else now, besides anxiety. The girl understands that she wants to break off the engagement, but she never wanted Charles to plunge into eternity, so now she asks how the hell he got hurt so much that the smell is so strong. The young man claims that this is not his red liquid, but after seeing how the girl made such a fuss, he regretted that this red liquid was not his. The girl then claims that then he should have said so right away because she was worrying in vain. Without realizing it, the young lady only grew closer to His Majesty each time. The man at this time asks Miss Scarlet where she is going, and the girl replies that he does not have to follow her because she is completely fine. But then when the Emperor spoke about desserts, the girl quickly sat down at the table, and now she only sees how the guy stares at her and then asks if she will ask what exactly happened. After which, the girl asks whether this should be done. Well, the Emperor only claims that early this morning the assassins from Pan tried to put him into eternal sleep, and there were 4 of them, so this is clearly more than usual. The young lady then says that this is how it is, and claims that he has a hard time with such a high position, but the main character, seeing his look, thinks what's wrong again, and has she really made some kind of mistake? Therefore, the girl says that nevertheless the fact that we are talking about assassins from Pan makes us a little worried. After all, when she encountered them last time, she was very scared, although they were clearly far from His Majesty. The young lady also says that she thinks it's time for her to finish eating, and the man replies that she can eat more. Well, the girl claims that she is full and thinks that in such an awkward situation, not a piece will fit into her. His Majesty at this time turns to the young lady and says that today she said that she needed to show him something. The girl replies that yes, that's right, because she's going to show something. The young lady also thinks that she should get ready because she forgot about everything because of this smell of red liquid. But in any case, everything turned out for the best because recently he continues to sit with a sour expression, and now it will destroy his illusions and at the same time make him a little distracted from his heavy thoughts. So now the young lady turns to His Majesty and he asks Togo to watch carefully. The girl understands that we are talking about what she has been working day and night for the last 3 days. After which, the girl brings her hands to her mouth and shows the face of a monkey. After which, he also shows the pig, and then the man just asks what Miss Scarlet is doing now. The young lady then realizes that she is more embarrassed than she thought and claims that the Emperor looked as if he was out of sorts. That same evening, the colleague just laughs and asks that he is serious every time he sees Miss Armand. He never ceases to be surprised. But what was she even thinking about doing something like that in front of His Majesty? The brunette then tells the guy to stop laughing because the girl is, after all, His Majesty's bride. And the guy then asks what he's talking about, and she thinks the other guy also thought it was funny. But then His Majesty comes into the room and the guys ask him how the meeting went. The Emperor only claims that Pan will be cleansed. And the young man with red hair says that finally His Majesty made the right decision. The brunette then asks if this is too sudden because he still hasn't turned a blind eye to their ruthless actions. And as you know, Pan is just a group of assassins, but didn't His Majesty himself order them to respect their merits and traditions which date back to the founding of the Empire? The Emperor then replies that he doesn't care about that, let them prepare troops for immediate departure. The brunette then replies that he is listening and then he will ask the advisor to adjust His Majesty's schedule, but the guy replies that he won't go. And the guy then asks whether His Majesty will remain in the capital. The young man with red hair then replies that he understands what the Emperor means, so don't let him worry because they will figure it out themselves. And His Majesty then claims that he entrusts this matter to them, after which the guys answer that they will quickly clean them up. Well, the brunette then asks what his colleague is doing, and the young man with red hair asks if he has any eyes, because it's immediately clear what's what. The Emperor said to destroy Pan, and the fact that he himself did not go on a campaign so as not to get his hands dirty in the red liquid is all being done because of this month. And in the end, His Majesty will still have to intervene, but for now he suggests leaving him alone. The Emperor at this time remembers the faces that the young lady made, and he smiles, and one of the advisors claims that this is the first time he has seen the Emperor having so much fun. The young lady only understands that although it was her idea, she really didn't think that it would be so awkward to make faces. But nevertheless, Charles seemed very shocked and did not utter a word until the end of the meeting.